in prison. I develop mechas to break out. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201. Directly launch the ultimate move. At the entrance of the base, two helicopters descended from the sky. The hatch opened, and a familiar figure walked out. Kang Hui. Mr. Zhou. Kang Hui came forward and stretched out his hand with a little excitement. Zhou Yang smiled and said, I thought it was someone else. Why did you, a pillar of the stage, come here? Kang Hui said, to interview a heavyweight like you. Only we old men can do it. Okay, let's go in. It's windy and sandy here. This place is windy and sandy all year round, and you can't stay outside for long. Kang Hui was also full of emotion. With Zhou Yang's status, if he wanted to enjoy leisure, he could go to the rear at any time and enjoy himself as he wanted, but Zhou Yang didn't do that. He was still struggling on the front line of research and development, and in such a difficult place. On the way here, Kang Hui saw with his own eyes how desolate this place was. Taking Kang Hui with him, Zhou Yang said, however you have arranged it, I will cooperate with you. Thank you Mr. Zhou for your understanding. Kang Hui was pleasantly surprised and said, in fact, our main task this time is to shoot a news story, but this news story may be very short, no more than 15 seconds at most, and then put it on the 7 o'clock news. Zhou Yang nodded and smiled. Isn't it that the shorter the time, the greater the amount of information? That's what I mean. Kang Hui continued. Secondly, according to the instructions of the superiors, the station plans to shoot some materials as a documentary to prepare for the public release in the future. The greatest significance of controlled nuclear fusion is still civilian use. It is impossible to develop it without announcing it. Not only must it be announced, but it must also be promoted to the world, just like virtual reality, seizing the initiative and obtaining dividends. So it is normal to shoot a documentary. No problem, like in this base, except for the second base. You can visit the first base at will. There is not much to keep secret. Some technologies really cannot be learned by releasing some photos. Zhou Yang said confidently. In the past, with technology, someone could learn a lot from a photo, and then they could imitate and make something that was almost usable. But with the development of technology, the gap in technology is getting bigger and bigger. Some things are really right in front of you, and you can't figure it out, no matter how hard you try. Just like virtual reality helmets, more than 1 billion have been distributed worldwide, and research institutes in various countries have been researching for a long time, but no one has ever reverse engineered it. The same is true for nuclear fusion. Even if you invite scientists to come and visit, as long as the core secrets are not revealed, they still can't make it. This is also the reason why it is becoming increasingly difficult for small countries to catch up with powerful countries. As the saying goes, the strong will always be strong. You have a mecha that can fly into the sky, but others can't even make a second generation machine. How can you catch up? So some countries are simply too lazy to develop and give up treatment. Therefore, for country Z, there are really only a few countries in the world that can fight more than 200 countries. Those so-called powerful countries are just like that, and they don't take them seriously at all. Kang Hui couldn't help but give a thumbs up and said, Mr. Zhou is so domineering. Zhou Yang first developed the Lungsum battery, and no country has ever cracked it. This is Zhou Yang's confidence. As for what the second base is, and why it cannot be made public, Kang Hui certainly won't ask. He followed Zhou Yang and visited the first base. Finally, in front of the main device of nuclear fusion, the camera was aimed at Zhou Yang and a short news clip was made. The whole process was only 10 seconds in total, which truly explained the truth, that the shorter the time, the greater the amount of information. The next night, while the internet was still discussing the tragic death of 17 people, the 7 o'clock news that night suddenly broadcast a news in the middle of the news. Under the leadership of academician Zhou Yang, my country's controlled nuclear fusion device has made a breakthrough recently. The main structure has been preliminarily completed. Please see the report sent back by the reporter below. The screen turned, and an interview video appeared. In the video, Zhou Yang, who was still energetic in a white coat, appeared in the camera. Behind Zhou Yang was the main device of cold fusion. This is the main ignition device for controlled nuclear fusion that we developed. It is now basically completed and is expected to be ignited in the near future. Zhou Yang finished this sentence as if he was reading a line. The camera did not even move, only giving a half-body shot of the huge device behind. Then, the news disappeared and jumped directly to the next news. Some people who read the news may have missed this news because of distraction. However, on the internet, this news was reprinted by countless media. On Douyin, the news was broadcast at 7:15, and at 1600 hours, the official Douyin CCTV news media released this video. At 7:28, the related video topped the hot list. Zhou Yang's popularity is still admirably high. Fuck, I saw fake news. Controlled nuclear fusion. Can someone please come out and explain what this is? It's not a thing. Controlled nuclear fusion is an artificial sun. Once it is successfully developed, humans will enter a state of almost unlimited energy. However, this technology is extremely difficult. The international community has been researching it for many years, and our country has also been researching it for many years, but there has been no mature nuclear fusion device. I really didn't expect that Zhou Yang has been researching controlled nuclear fusion. I said, there has been no news about Zhou Yang for a while, and he doesn't even post videos on his Douyin account. It turns out that he has gone to research controlled nuclear fusion. This is amazing. Of course it's amazing. You don't know how valuable this thing is, and how difficult it is. Just think about it this way, all the nuclear physicists in the world have joined together to study something that has not been researched for more than 10 years. You can imagine how difficult it is. I saw in the news that the main device has been completed, and Mr. Zhou also said that it will be ignited soon. Has it been successfully developed? I don't know. This news is too short. Zhou Yang only said one sentence from beginning to end. Many netizens discussed it. Foreign media also reprinted the news as soon as possible. Especially the governments of various countries were really shocked. Pair only knew the news after waking up. What? Controlled nuclear fusion. During this period, Pair was always worried that Country Z would retaliate against them, but later found that Country Z still restrained itself and only hit Blackwater's global business. In just a few days, the world's largest mercenary security company has declined beyond recognition. Pair did not dare to protect it, fearing that it would bring disaster upon itself. He even secretly helped to clean up some of Blackwater's senior executives to prevent the news from leaking. Although Pair believed that Country Z had determined that it was him, there was no substantial evidence, and Country Z always had to be reasonable. But now, a controlled nuclear fusion suddenly appeared, which confused Pair. Could it be that this was Country Z's real response? Controlled nuclear fusion. This is a big move. Chapter 202. We don't have much time left. Pair immediately called his staff to a meeting. Several scientists were also dragged over. Is this thing real or fake? Pair asked bluntly. An MIT nuclear physicist said without hesitation, of course it's fake. 100% fake. Pair's eyes lit up and asked, why? The nuclear physicist said, it's very simple. With the current level of human technology, it is impossible to complete commercially controlled nuclear fusion. I know Zhou Yang. He is very powerful, but no matter how powerful he is, this controlled nuclear fusion, so many nuclear physicists in our world have studied it for so many years, but they haven't done it yet. How can he do it alone? I speculate that this may just be a smoker screen released by Country Z, and this ignition device may be an upgraded product of their East device, and then they promoted it as a mature controlled nuclear fusion device. Pair frowned slightly. This guy talked a lot of nonsense without any substantive content. Pair looked at another nuclear physicist again. This guy couldn't explain it clearly. He said that it was just a video, and there was not much to see, so it was impossible to make an accurate guess. Pair looked at his staff. It's probably fake. Like Professor Rosen said, this is controlled nuclear fusion. ITER has been researching for so many years, and has brought together the world's top scientists, but it has not been successfully researched. It is probably a smoker screen deliberately released by Country Z in response to the previous incident. Pear knew what the previous incident was and began to think, could it be a trick of Country Z to scare him? Waving his hand and letting several scientists go out, Pear asked, can we scout the situation there? This device is most likely the nuclear base that was discovered before. The Minister of Defense coughed lightly and shook his head. I'm afraid it's not easy. Until now, they haven't figured out how the Blackbird crashed. Pear ripped off his tie in annoyance. There was no way to deal with such a thing. Because it is Country Z, not some weak country. If it is a weak country that announces that it wants to develop controlled nuclear fusion, Pear may treat it as a funny news and then directly sanction the other party with a sentence the next day. But now it is Country Z. How to sanction it? Economically, everyone's economic level is infinitely close, and many places in Country M rely on Country Z. If a trade war is launched, it will hurt itself 1,000 times. Military suppression is even more impossible. Pear still wants to finish his term in peace and stability, and does not want to worry about the mecha coming to the door as soon as he opens his eyes. In this case, what can be done? There is no way at all. We can only hope that this is fake news and then try our best to catch up. What the hell is ITA doing? After so many years, we have invested so much money, but we have not seen any results. Withdraw our people. We also want to develop controlled nuclear fusion. Now, immediately. Do you understand? Pear said without hesitation. If you fall behind, you will be beaten. If Country Z really develops controlled nuclear fusion, then there will be little time left for Country M. Zhou Yang would not care about the international reaction at all. Now Zhou Yang's focus has been completely on controlled nuclear fusion. The plan for ignition on April 1st has been approved by his superiors. On March 25th, the ignition device was finally completed. Mr. Zhou, it's done. It's finally done. Zhu Jindan was as excited as a child, waving his arms excitedly. The 1,000-member engineering team on the scene had the same reaction. Even Zhou Yang was infected by the atmosphere and waved his fist vigorously to express his inner excitement. After a while, everyone calmed down and quieted down. Zhou Yang clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention and then said, okay, after so much hard work, we finally got the device out, but now it's just the first step. It will be a real success when the ignition is successful. There is still a week before the ignition. In the next period of time, we have to carefully check the system to make sure there will be no problems. Zhu Jindan nodded vigorously and immediately directed people to start a detailed inspection. The next day, Li Xianshu rushed in. Should we try pre-ignition? Li Xianshu said, looking at the huge ignition device. Oh, has the plan changed? Zhou Yang asked in surprise. Li Xianshu nodded and said, the higher-ups mean that they want to invite some people to come and watch the ignition, and at the same time, they will broadcast it live. Not hiding it anymore? Zhou Yang asked, but when he thought about it, he had already made the news and took the initiative to expose it, which was enough to explain the higher-ups' idea. Li Xianshu said, that's right. After all, this thing is for commercial use. Why should we hide such a great moment that can be recorded in human history? There is no reason to hide it, right? Commercial use? Zhou Yang could only laugh, but what Li Xianshu said was right. This controlled nuclear fusion is commercial use. And not only is controlled nuclear fusion commercial, but mechas are also civilian use. Li Xianshu continued, and the higher-ups' idea is to expand. Expand? Zhou Yang was shocked. These two words represent something too heavy. Li Xianshu nodded and said, yes, it is expansion, not defense. Our strength is enough. After so many years of hard work, it is time to show our strength to the world. Zhou Yang's heart was also inexplicably filled with pride. To expand, you have to fight for territory, be the boss, be a benchmark, crush, wave money in one hand and a big stick in the other. Those who follow the younger brother honestly will have meat to eat, and those who want to challenge the boss and fight will suffer. Expansion and defense are completely different concepts. Okay, I'm just a researcher. I will do whatever the country needs me to do, Zhou Yang said with a smile. Li Xianshu suddenly bent down, bowed to Zhou Yang, and then said thank you very solemnly. Zhou Yang smiled and said nothing. Some things don't need to be said. Time flies, and it is April 1st. 3 days in advance, all major media channels announced that at 10 AM on April 1st, the first commercial controlled nuclear fusion reactor in country Z, codenamed Surenshi, would be ignited, and all media would broadcast the event live. After 3 days of hype, this news has become known to everyone. It has just been revealed that we are working on controlled nuclear fusion. How come it is about to be ignited? Isn't this our usual style? Once something is exposed, it means it will succeed soon. It doesn't mean it will succeed soon, but it means it has already succeeded. Our country will not disclose key information to the outside world without absolute certainty. Controlled nuclear fusion and commercial use. Our country is awesome. This is a direct step. If this thing is successfully ignited, it will be a major event that affects all mankind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, Suren. April 1st. Starting from 6 o'clock in the morning, turn on the TV, all programs are stopped, and all TV stations are broadcasting CCTV's special programs. The host Liao Mingju is talking about the ignition with 2 invited nuclear physics experts. The 2 nuclear physics experts are also domestic experts in nuclear physics. One is Zhang Ling, and the other is Wang Chuxin. Their identities are also very unusual. Zhang Ling is the Dean of the School of Physics at Harbin Institute of Technology, and Wang Chuxin is the director of a well-known domestic physics institute. I think the audience in front of the TV now should be very concerned about a question. That is, after the commercial level controlled nuclear fusion is offline, what impact will it have on our lives? For example, will the electricity bill drop? Liao Mingju asked. Zhang Ling and Wang Chuxin looked at each other, and the older Zhang Ling spoke first. I will not elaborate on the principle of controlled nuclear fusion, as it is all written in physics textbooks. Humans have been studying this technology for many years. Internationally, there is ITER. Domestically, there is EAST, and the United States has NIF, all of which have successfully completed the ignition of nuclear fusion. But these devices do not meet the conditions for commercial use. Simply put, the input and output do not meet the requirements. For example, we put in 10 times the energy to complete the nuclear fusion process, but the output may be only 0.1% of the energy. Such devices, of course, cannot be used. The academic community believes that only controlled nuclear fusion devices with an output ratio of more than 10 can barely meet commercial conditions. I don't know the specific output ratio of the Surenshi that Mr. Zhao studied, but since it is claimed to be commercially available, I think it should have reached an output ratio of more than 10. This is an incredible feat. Wang Chuxin next to him continued. As for the impact on our lives, I don't think there will be much impact in the short term, but the impact will gradually become apparent, because energy is the foundation of modern society. As for whether the electricity bill will drop, I think it is highly unlikely to drop. Liao Mingju chuckled and continued to talk about other issues. In the middle, some live broadcasts of the base will be inserted. It can be seen that the engineers are making nervous preparations. Even Zhou Yang also connected with the scene at 9 o'clock. Mr. Zhao, how are the preparations now? Are you confident about this ignition? Liao Mingju asked. In the picture, Zhou Yang was dressed in a formal suit and smiled and said, "We have been fully prepared. As for whether you ask me if I have confidence, I can only say that I have 50% confidence. After all, anything can happen." In fact, in his heart, Zhou Yang wanted to say that there was no need to ask whether it could succeed. How could there be any uncertain factors when showing off muscles in such a national event? It can be said that it must be successful, and it must succeed, even if it cannot succeed. So as early as 2 days ago, an ignition was actually carried out, and the result was that it ran perfectly and met Zhou Yang's design standards. And for today's public ignition, the fusion device was stopped with great effort and the device was restored to its initial state. This process is like digging a subway. It is not enough to dig through the shield machine. It must be withdrawn. and the hole dug must be sealed again. Then, when the leaders and reporters arrive, they can dig again. Zhou Yang complained a little in his heart and cut off the video connection. The leaders are coming soon. Not only the superiors, but also the ambassadors of some major countries are invited. Even the United States is invited. Then there are some organizations, such as the International Energy Agency, the United Nations Organization, and representatives of the United Nations. By the way, there is also ITER. I don't know if the country was cheated by ITER before, and I want to get revenge. It actually sent an invitation to ITER. What's more amazing is that ITER actually agreed to come. Today is a sunny day, and the special plane of the invited guests slowly stopped. The guests got off the plane one after another and took a special car to the underground base. Henry, the chairman of ITER, and Anderson, the director, plus Vieira, the technical consultant of ITER, got off the plane at the end of the team. I can't believe that they have built a huge nuclear test base in this desert. Henry sighed. Anderson said, their infrastructure capabilities are indeed impressive. Vieira next to him said, not very impressive, but best in the world. I'm now very curious about what method they will choose to carry out nuclear fusion. There was only a very short video before, and no useful information could be seen. Vieira is a pure scientist who simply studies technology. Anderson snorted and said, Professor, you'd better be prepared for disappointment. Their technology is worlds apart from our ITER. Even we haven't completed commercial grade controlled nuclear fusion. Do you think they can do it? If you ask me, they are probably just magnifying the proportions of the previous East. Zhou Yang once clamored that he would make real nuclear fusion and didn't need our technology. I want to see what he can do in a few months. Henry next to him also echoed, the things they claimed can only fool these politicians who know nothing. In our eyes, they are full of loopholes. They still invited us. Do they think we dare not come? I came here today. I will wait until they fail to ignite and then expose them on the spot to let them know that our ITER is the only feasible controlled nuclear fusion device on this planet. Vieira shook his head and didn't argue. He followed the main force and entered the underground base. The underground base is not ordinary magnificent. Anyone who sees the internal structure will not be able to help but sigh at the greatness of human power. Soon, everyone also saw the protagonist this time, Surenshi. The diameter of 30 meters seemed very huge. Many guests sat down on the specially built viewing platform, and Zhou Yang and Zhu Jindang also appeared. Mr. Zhao. Many people stood up and shook hands with Zhou Yang. Even ambassadors from various countries came forward to talk with Zhou Yang, the greatest scientist of the 21st century. There have been media, and not ordinary media, but Nature, Science, the top magazines in the academic world, which rated Zhou Yang as the greatest scientist since the 21st century. Just for the results Zhou Yang has researched, it can be said that he deserves the title, and it is not an exaggeration at all. Zhou Yang smiled and shook hands with everyone, and finally came to the three people of ITER. When Vieira saw Zhou Yang, his hands were shaking with excitement, and he trembled and didn't know what to say. This is Director Anderson, we have met before. Zhou Yang said. Mr. Zhao, you have a good memory. We have met before at HF. Anderson smiled brightly. He was hostile to Zhou Yang in his heart, but in this occasion, Anderson did not dare to show any. This is Country Z's territory, and Zhou Yang is Country Z's most important scientist. If Anderson is disrespectful to Zhou Yang, he is afraid that he will not be able to leave Country Z. Chapter 204 Welcome to the Future. Anderson was going to laugh it off, but Zhou Yang had no intention of letting him go. The country wanted to teach ITER a lesson, so they specially invited them here. How could Zhou Yang forget how arrogant Anderson was at HF? Mr. Anderson, when we met last time, I said that I would complete our own controlled nuclear fusion. After half a year, it was finally completed. Anderson smiled awkwardly and said quickly, congratulations. Zhou Yang continued, in fact, during this period of time, Professor Zhu and I have carefully discussed the technical route of controlled nuclear fusion. As soon as these words came out, everyone present looked over. Zhou Yang said, we have found that the current routes may not be able to achieve our ultimate goal. In other words, the existing routes may be wrong. So we have taken a different path and chosen a completely different path. Cold fusion. What? Vieira exclaimed. Mr. Zhou, you are talking about cold fusion. Is this ignition device cold fusion? Everyone present was talking about it. This was the first time Zhou Yang introduced the way of nuclear fusion to the outside world, and those who knew about it were the most shocked. Because cold fusion has long been proven to be an extremely wrong route. In the eyes of many nuclear physicists, magnetic field confinement is the kingly way, laser confinement is a side door, and as for cold fusion, it is completely a crooked way. But now, Zhou Yang, who practiced the crooked way, has succeeded. And those of them who are famous and righteous are still struggling outside the door of nuclear fusion. Anderson can no longer laugh. The subtext of Zhou Yang's words is that the writer technology route is wrong. What is called killing people and destroying their hearts? This is killing people and destroying their hearts. Just imagine, with Zhou Yang's current status and identity, the key is that Zhou Yang personally completed nuclear fusion and proved the feasibility of cold fusion. Then Zhou Yang said that magnetic field confinement was wrong. Then ITER, which was determined to carry out magnetic field confinement, would be on the wrong path. What would the countries that gave money think? ITER, which was already short of money, was still playing with eggs. Just disband it. Henry's face changed drastically. He immediately felt that Zhou Yang was deliberately targeting them, and what he said was too lethal. If the ignition is successful and meets the commercial conditions, then Zhou Yang will be the king in the field of nuclear fusion. What he said is the truth. Zhou Yang said that the magnetic field confinement route is not feasible, then ITER will be finished. Just when he was about to open his mouth to defend himself, Zhou Yang smiled at the two of them, turned around and walked away, not giving them a chance to defend themselves. Henry's face flushed red, and he was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Okay, let's get started. Zhou Yang clapped his hands and signaled that everyone could take a seat. The time was approaching 10 o'clock. There are 3 cameras around, recording the ignition scene in all directions. Many people in China also watched the live broadcast in front of the TV. Strangely, some foreign media did not broadcast it, and even reported less. Perhaps they were afraid that their citizens would not be able to bear seeing that country Z was so powerful. At 10 o'clock, the ignition ceremony officially began. The leader came to the stage and gave a speech, which was not long. At the end, he said, "Then I'll hand over the podium to our most lovely scientists." Zhou Yang walked onto the stage. The surrounding light dimmed slightly. Then, the holographic projection was projected, and Zhou Yang pointed at the projection and said, "This is the approximate structure of our Surenshi. When the device is started at room temperature, the tritium element inside will continue to enrich, and after reaching a certain density, it will complete the self-fusion form. The whole process is completed inside, so from the naked eye, no changes will be seen. The reaction is all inside, and the entire instrument is fully enclosed. The so-called ignition ceremony is actually as simple as pressing the start button. As for what changes are inside, outsiders can't see it at all. But the ultimate goal of fusion is to generate energy, so we can look here." The top of the projected device grew larger as Zhou Yang pointed, giving everyone a more intuitive feeling. "We are not using the traditional energy conversion method, but converting it into particle energy. This place is our thermal energy conversion device, which can convert the high heat energy generated by fusion into particles." The few scientists present pricked up their ears instantly, and their expressions were as surprised as they could be. If the situation did not allow it, they would all like to ask what the new energy conversion method Zhou Yang mentioned was, and how to convert the gamma rays generated by fusion into controllable particles. As for the audience in front of the TV, they said it was like listening to a book in heaven. Then, Zhou Yang paused slightly and said, "In order to show the occurrence of fusion more intuitively, we will use the most direct way to let everyone see the emergence of energy." Zhou Yang looked at Wang Songwen. Wang Songwen nodded slightly and spoke on the intercom. The next moment, with a rumble, the lid on the top of the head slowly opened. All the cameras were aimed at the top. Many guests also looked up and noticed that there was such a top above. The diameter is more than 50 meters, revealing a clear and cloudless sky. "Okay, let's start the ignition." Zhou Yang did not explain the intention of opening the ceiling and directly announced the start of the ignition. Ignition. With Zhu Jindang's calm command, various indicator lights began to light up in the control system in front of Su Renqi. The researchers also became busy nervously. System self-checking. System self-checking is completed, and system number 1 is started. System number 1 has been started. System number 2 is starting, and the startup is completed. System number 3 is started, the target conditions have been met, and the ignition countdown is on. 10, 9, 1. With the last countdown, all the indicator lights turned on. The huge Su Renqi did not change at all. There is no indicator light on this thing. It is in a fully enclosed state, and no one can see any changes inside. Everyone was a little confused, not knowing whether it was successful or failed. The system is running normally, and Su Renqi has successfully ignited. A researcher stood up and reported loudly. Everyone present was stunned, and quickly stood up and applauded. But there were still some doubts in his heart. Judging from this reaction, it should be successful, right? At this time, Zhou Yang waved his hand, signaling everyone to stay calm, and then said, "Turn on the energy conversion device, and start outputting energy." Energy conversion device started. The next moment, everyone saw it. A light blue flame appeared on the top of Su Renqi, rising into the sky, and instantly reached a height of more than 10 meters. The flame seemed to be flowing, constantly spraying into the sky, and constantly attenuating, and finally annihilated in the air. "Increase the conversion power, full power," Zhou Yang said calmly. Increasing the power, 5%, 10%. Everyone saw that the light blue flame continued to rise, and instantly rushed out of the ground, a full few dozen meters high, and this was only 15%. As the researchers continued to count, the power continued to rise. At 50%, the flame was already hundreds of meters high, but it was not over yet. Everyone held their breath, and they could feel the abnormality around them. Their hair was floating for no reason. It was the effect of free electrons. Finally, the power reached full power, 100%. Zhou Yang raised his hands, and behind him, the energy flames like giant pillars seemed to pierce the sky. Everyone, welcome to the future. At this moment, the picture was frozen, and Zhou Yang, with the sky-high flames behind him, looked like a god descending to the earth. Chapter 205 Medical Machine. The guests at the scene were shocked. Through the live broadcast, those who saw this scene were also shocked and speechless. Controlled nuclear fusion, artificial sun, unlimited energy. At this moment, humans can finally dominate their own energy. Even the sun can be created. Isn't it like a god? In the CCTV live broadcast room, Zhang Ling and Wang Chuxin were trembling with excitement, and they only knew to mutter the word success, success over and over again. The emotions of the audiences on major live broadcast platforms reached their peak at this moment. Oh my god, is this the power of science? It's so great. I got goosebumps all over my body when I saw it. This thing is so powerful. Artificial sun. Now I understand why this ignition device was named Su Renqi. In history, Su Renqi made fire and ignited human civilization. Now Zhou Yang has developed controlled nuclear fusion, which is like the sun, shining on human civilization. This can be deified. Deified? He has already been deified. Okay. Fortunately, this ray of nuclear fusion light appeared in our country first. Fortunately, Zhou Yang is a scientist in our country. Thumbs up for the country and Zhou Yang. The whole network was boiling. Seeing this ray of flame, everyone's pride was aroused. At the nuclear base, Zhou Yang waved to Wang Songwen, signaling to reduce the power. There were too many free electrons around, and any movement would cause crackling sounds. Wang Songwen quickly reduced the power, and the sky-high flames slowly shrank, and finally disappeared completely, and the surroundings gradually returned to normal. The crowd gradually came to their senses, and when they did, they all began to applaud. The people on the Z side were sincere. Li Xianshu in the crowd even made an okay gesture to Zhou Yang. He was there when the ignition was first lit, but the ignition was just like the beginning, with no reaction. All the changes were inside and could not be seen. At that time, Li Xianshu was worried that when the ignition was actually broadcast live, the effect would not be good, and people would feel like I took off my pants and you showed me this. But who would have thought that Zhou Yang actually had such a trick? The effect just now was simply explosive, just like the first time entering the virtual reality world. Shocking. This effect was a perfect score. As for the ambassadors from various countries who were invited, their expressions were a bit complicated. Although they knew that Z country had always been in a style that it would never show anything real to outsiders, so when they came, they knew that Z country must have made some amazing research results in controlled nuclear fusion. But at the beginning, everyone thought that this thing was the same as East. At best it was an upgraded version of East, but who could have thought that Zhou Yang could do it in one step and directly create such an exaggerated controlled nuclear fusion? The energy flames that soared into the sky seemed to announce to the world that the era of Country Z had arrived. Especially the representatives of Country M. They instantly regretted it. Did they have shit in their brains to come and see the rise of Country Z? The expressions of the remaining invited institutions were also different. Some international organizations were excited. Controlled nuclear fusion can be so anticipated by humans, not only because it can produce huge energy, but also because the content of tritium in seawater is amazing, which can be used by humans for hundreds of millions of years. The most important thing is that this thing is not like a nuclear fusion reactor, which has nuclear waste and nuclear radiation, and the nuclear fusion reaction produces helium, which is a clean and safe waste. Therefore, in the view of these international organizations, nuclear fusion should be vigorously promoted, so that all human beings can enjoy the dividends of nuclear fusion. But the two people in ITA were in a bad mood. At the beginning, Zhou Yang was murderous and directly said that their ITA line was wrong. Anderson didn't respond at the time, but he was madly drawing circles and cursing Zhou Yang in his heart, hoping that this ignition would fail. Unexpectedly, the ignition not only did not fail, but was so successful. The result just now was simply explosive. At this time, the two people's faces were full of despair. Zhou Yang has proved to the world with facts that cold fusion is the kingly way, so their magnetic field confinement has really become a crooked way. This ignition is a complete success. But the aftermath is not over yet. The truly commercially available controlled nuclear fusion has come out, which can be expected to change the whole world. The next day, Zhou Yang did not give himself a holiday or anything. The first step of the long march has now succeeded, but Zhou Yang's goal is not limited to this. Miniaturization is the ultimate goal. Small controlled nuclear fusion like Iron Man's arc reactor can be loaded and applied to various environments to change the human world in all aspects. After a night of revelry, Zhu Jindang's team just did what they had to do and continued with the next step of research. They had followed Zhou Yang for several months and had picked up his good habits, being pragmatic. Who cares about empty talk? Zhou Yang sorted out the rewards for random tasks in his office. When the first ignition was started, the task had been completed and the relevant information had been distributed. Nanomedical machine technology. It's not nanomedical technology. Medical technology is developing rapidly, and nanomedical treatment also has certain applications. The key is the word machine. After reading the entire information in detail, Zhou Yang immediately thought of the nearly omnipotent medical machine in a movie called Elysium. Fuchsie. Zhou Yang shouted. The projection emerged and Fuchsie appeared. Although Fuchsie's main body has been placed in the smart city, the smart city has not yet started, and his main computing power is still used in the research institute. Congratulations. Fuchsie said. Zhou Yang was surprised and asked, what are you congratulating? Several magazines appeared in front of Fuchsie, and he said, Nature, Science, and domestic top science magazines such as Science Pictorial have all published special editions to report on Surenchi, and you are on the front page. Zhou Yang took a look and saw that the cover photos of several magazines were all the same, with his back to the energy flame and his arms outstretched. Don't tell me what they said, let me guess. Is it all praise, and then at the end it's still a sour and envious tone? Zhou Yang said. It is said that science has no borders, but that is just a luxury. Whoever sits on the chair decides to speak for whom. This kind of thing is not good. Fuchsie laughed and said, you are amazing. Your guess is not wrong at all. Zhou Yang waved his hand and said, look at these materials. Fuchsie stepped forward and scanned the materials on Zhou Yang's desk. After reading it, Fuchsie was also shocked. Mr. Zhou, you did all of this. It's amazing. If this device is really made, human life expectancy will be greatly extended, and we can theoretically reach 120 years old. Chapter 206 Reaching the Theoretical Lifespan. The average lifespan of human beings varies according to the living conditions and medical technology of different countries, but at most it is about 60 or 70 years old. But in fact, scientists have long done research and found that the theoretical lifespan of human beings should be over 120 years old. Like animals, the natural lifespan of human beings should be the product of the number of cell divisions in the cell division cycle. The number of cell divisions of human beings can reach 50 times, and the cycle of each cell division of human beings is about 2.4 years. So theoretically, the lifespan of human beings can reach 120 years old. At present, the average lifespan of developed countries is generally only 60 or 70 years old. If it can be extended to 120 years old, it means an extra 50 years of lifespan out of thin air, which represents a lot of things. Of course, it does not mean that human beings can have more time to enjoy, nor that you may not retire until you are 80 or 90 years old, but that human beings' ability to learn knowledge has increased by 50 years out of thin air. For example, if we do not compare the current scientific workers with the peerless geniuses who appear once in a century, they are just ordinary people. They may complete their doctoral degrees in their 30s and then start to choose a field for research. If it is mathematics, if he is talented enough, but not extremely talented, he may learn all the research results of his predecessors around the age of 50. After that, at the age of 60, one can start to push mathematics forward and do some groundbreaking research. At the age of 60, people are already old, and their physical strength, energy, and all aspects can no longer keep up. The possible golden research time is only about 10 years. However, if the lifespan is extended by 50 years, then his golden research age may reach about 30 years. The significance of these extra 20 years for the development of human civilization will be huge. Just like Zhou Yang, as a top expert in nuclear physics in China, but he is already over 60, and he can only study for a few more years. I'm afraid that he will have to retreat behind the scenes in a few years. Even if Zhou Yang is willing to continue to contribute to the country, his physical condition no longer allows it. But if the lifespan is extended by 50 years, he can at least contribute another 20 or 30 years to the country. Fuchsie sat down on the sofa and said, Mr. Zhou, this thing has a lot of technical difficulties. Zhou Yang nodded. Although the technical information provided by the system is comprehensive, it is still the same sentence. Let primary school students face college students' math problems. Even if you show you the answers, you can't understand them. Fuchsie said, this instrument must first know all the genes of human beings. This gene mapping was completed in 2004. Then, each disease should be studied. I have read relevant research. Different diseases will produce different rays. By distinguishing the rays, the disease should be determined. But this is a big project. It is necessary to map each disease in order to achieve the goal of quickly determining the disease with one scan. Then it is treatment. Fuchsie said, I see that your idea is to use a special nanoarm, and it is nanotechnology. In fact, it should be more accurate to say that it should be biotechnology. It has biological characteristics, can reproduce quickly, and can write different DNA like writing a program. Then remove the harmful cells caused by the disease, and then replace them with nanoarms to complete the entire treatment process. The difficulties are, first, disease scanning and rapid positioning. Second, the preparation of nanoarms. And finally, the reorganization and arrangement during treatment. Let the nanoarms arrange according to fixed requirements, which is also a big difficulty. At the end of the words, Fuchsie sighed again. This is another big project. Zhou Yang nodded, but it is of great significance. Not only can it keep humans away from diseases, but it can also prolong human life. Please help me organize the information into a feasibility report and send it to Director Li. Zhou Yang said. Fuchsie nodded and disappeared. After the report was handed over, Li Xianshu rushed to the next day. Mr. Zhou, is it really possible to realize the technology you described in the report? Li Xianshu asked hurriedly. From ancient times to the present, who doesn't want to be immortal? Who doesn't want to live as long as the sky? But human power is limited, and a life of mediocrity is full of regrets. Now Zhou Yang has proposed a technology that allows everyone to live to more than 120 years old. This is terrifying. Zhou Yang said, whether it can be realized or not, we have to do it to know. Li Xianshu nodded and lowered his voice and asked, if this technology is realized, can humans live forever? Zhou Yang frowned slightly. He guessed that this should not be what Li Xianshu wanted to ask. After hesitating for a moment, Zhou Yang shook his head without hesitation and said, impossible. There is absolutely no such possibility. I won't tell you in detail from a scientific point of view. Just think about it this way. If you use nanobombs to replace all the cells in your body, then from an ethical point of view, are you still you? Your body is no longer your body. And the reason why life is that there are still some fundamental things that we cannot control. Treating diseases and allowing humans to have a healthier body is the limit of this technology. Li Xianshu also nodded quickly to show that he understood, and he was visibly relieved. He didn't know whether what Zhou Yang said was true or not, but from the beginning, it was still necessary to seal certain openings. Taking a deep breath, Li Xianshu asked, okay, then what should the country do next? Zhou Yang said, this is a big project, and it should be a long-term project. As far as I know, there are more than 7,000 rare diseases discovered so far. These diseases need to be recorded and marked so that the instruments can identify them and determine the treatment plan. So this matter, I think it should be done in 2 steps. The first step is to collect disease information, and it should be on a large scale, collect a large amount of data, and finally summarize it. The second is research and development, mainly the cultivation of nanobombs. For this, you must at least organize a life science research team of hundreds of people for me, and don't do it here, just in the Wanghu Village Research Institute. Zhou Yang didn't mention the issue of the funds needed. Li Xianshu didn't ask either. As for the results Zhou Yang has made now, even if this technology is really messed up, not successful, and countless money is invested, the country will not care. In scientific and technological research and development, failure is the norm, and success is an accident. Zhou Yang's continued success is a miracle in itself. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Li Xianshu nodded continuously. After a pause, Li Xianshu asked again, by the way, Mr. Zhao, if we want to build a Surenshi, how much will it cost? This question was asked suddenly. However, Zhou Yang thought about it and guessed the reason why Li Xianshu asked this question. Has any country asked Surenshi? Zhou Yang asked. Li Xianshu nodded and said, only you know the specific cost. Even if the country plans to export this technology, it must know the cost first. Zhou Yang thought for a while and said, it is impossible to calculate the cost alone. If you must give a number, then the cost of this pile of things is only a few hundred million. Chapter 207 Big White Robot. Li Xianshu nodded slightly, knowing what was going on. Zhou Yang knew from his expression that he would definitely not ask for less, even if it was 100 times the cost price. If he really wanted it, he would sign a series of unequal treaties first. Controlled nuclear fusion is now a unique thing in the world. Although its main value is reflected in civilian use, this highlights its value. Solving the energy problem should not bring all kinds of super weapons that can go up to the sky and into the earth, but fully automated super factories, super farms with constant temperature and variable temperature, and prosperous and never extinguished super cities. So its value is self-evident. Zhou Yang felt that before the country had fully utilized nuclear fusion energy and changed the country, it would only promote this technology on a small scale with certain political purposes. When it has crushed you for an era, this technology may be truly released. As the two were talking, the projection light flashed, and Fuxi suddenly appeared. Hello, Director Li. Fuxi greeted Li Xianshu, and then said, Mr. Zhao, I have an idea about collecting disease data. Oh, what idea? Zhou Yang asked. Fuxi waved his hand, and a fat white robot appeared in front of him. Li Xianshu was stunned and said, is this Dabe? Zhou Yang glanced at Li Xianshu, as if asking how he knew. Li Xianshu coughed lightly and said, my daughter likes it very much. Fuxi continued, yes, it's Dabe. I noticed that Beidou has developed an intelligent robot and purchased the copyright of Dabe's character image, but just like in the movie, their goal is to provide a companion robot. They have been carrying out this plan for several months. Some time ago, their president Li brought engineers to the Wanghu Village Research Institute to consult about issues related to the robot control system. Zhou Yang understood a little and said, you mean, we should still follow the setting in the movie and add a medical module to Dabe to collect the user's disease information? Fuxi nodded and said, my idea is to establish a database based on common diseases from the beginning, providing a function to scan the human body, prevent and remind diseases, and then slowly collect information on various diseases and continuously update the database until this database reaches our goal. Zhou Yang fell into deep thought. Li Xianshu's eyes lit up and he said, Fuxi, your idea is great. I was just thinking that, if we just go to various hospitals to collect disease data and information, not to mention whether the patients are willing, the labor cost of collecting disease information alone is huge. Your method can not only easily solve this problem, but also make money. Who wouldn't want such a cute Dabe? Zhou Yang nodded and said, I can consider it. Then let Beidou know. I'll go over to see his research results in the next few days. Okay. Fuxi nodded and disappeared. Li Xianshu also hurriedly said, then I'll go too. Zhou Yang was thinking about another problem in his heart. With the current technical reserves, it should be no problem to make a suitable robot. Then should we vigorously promote civilian robots to replace manpower? But this will breed the previous problem. The large-scale promotion of robots will produce an astonishing wave of unemployment. Zhou Yang's solution is to introduce humans into the virtual reality space, consume their time, and provide them with the means to make money in the virtual reality space. But the current virtual reality space has not yet developed to that point. In fact, there is another way, that is universal security. From birth, you rely on the state to support you, allocate housing for you, provide you with medical care and education, and truly universal welfare, so that you will never have to worry about food and drink for the rest of your life. The emergence of controlled nuclear fusion has increased the possibility of such a thing, but Zhou Yang still feels that productivity cannot reach it. Forget it, this is a problem that the country should think about. I'm just a researcher, why should I think so much? Zhou Yang said with a self-deprecating smile. On the third day, Beidou headquarters, Li Yanhong and a group of senior executives went downstairs early to wait. Here we are. In the distance, a honky car drove over. Li Yanhong hurriedly led people to greet it. Mr. Zhao. Li Yanhong took the initiative to step forward and shook hands with Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang greeted everyone and then followed them in. Fuxi has told you all. I came here this time just to see your Dabe. Zhou Yang said. Li Yanhong didn't waste any words and took Zhou Yang to the laboratory. He said, I didn't expect that a sideline business we started would actually alarm you. For Beidou, this is a project of great significance, but for Zhou Yang, it is not worth mentioning. Zhou Yang didn't say anything and quickly came to the laboratory. This is the white and fat robot we developed. Li Yanhong pointed to a white and fat robot and said, it is exactly the same height and appearance as the white robot in the movie. Zhou Yang stepped forward. The already activated white robot stared with a pair of black eyes, and it could even turn its head and stare at Zhou Yang. This should be because the recognition module has been added and combined with artificial intelligence. It is a piece of cake. Zhou Yang stepped forward and touched the body of white robot. It is a very soft material and its strength should not be low. Li Yanhong said, this is a polymer material, soft, high temperature resistant, and not low in strength, which can prevent it from breaking when it touches sharp objects. As he said that, he took a knife handed over by the engineer next to him and stabbed it into the body of white robot. It didn't break. It can be seen that the material has good ductility. What about the internal structure? Zhou Yang asked. The engineer next to him hurriedly pushed over a Baymax robot without the outer skin. Zhou Yang understood at a glance that the internal skeleton of this robot was relatively simple. As for how such a simple skeleton supports the inflated body, Beidou also has a more creative design. That is, a honeycomb-like airbag structure is used between the skin and the skeleton, so that the skin and the skeleton can be supported, so that the movement of the skeleton can be transmitted. Take a few steps, Zhou Yang said. Then this pure skeleton Baymax began to move. It can be seen that it is still very flexible. The key is to imitate Baymax's silly movements vividly. Not bad. Zhou Yang nodded. Li Yanhang said, our algorithm didn't work before, but later we went to your institute for advice, and it became so flexible. The algorithm of this control system is still derived from the control system of the Mecha. Chapter 208 Autonomous Driving. Next, Zhou Yang watched a series of demonstrations of Dabei's bearing strength, movement speed, jumping ability, etc. Finally, Zhou Yang nodded and said, you have done a good job. It can be said that it is already a very mature product. Even the internal skeleton is made of high-strength crystal steel. This thing has been mass-produced for a long time, but it is still mainly concentrated in the military field. In the civilian field, it is still relatively rare. And Li Yanhan didn't know about this material until he went to the research institute and specifically asked for the production. His original technology used titanium alloy, and the cost was suddenly much higher, while high-strength crystal steel is not only low in cost, but also light. When are you going to go to market? Zhou Yang asked. Li Yanhang said, the product is now finalized. For specific production, we have decided to find buy for OEM. If the sales are good, we will invest in a factory to produce it ourselves. It is expected to be launched in early June. That's still in time. Zhou Yang nodded and said, I need to add a module to Dabei, or turn it into a medical robot, like in the movie, but only for diagnosis. Fuxi will give you the specific modification method and module design. Li Yanhan was shocked. The product here has been finalized. Why did Zhou Yang suddenly ask them to change it? You know, Li Yanhan's original idea was just to build a companion robot. Because Dabei is cute, he chose his image. Adding medical functions still has a lot of troubles. The most basic point is that this thing can no longer be considered an electronic product, but a medical and health product. The national implementation standards will be different. And if it is to go abroad in the future, the review standards for medical supplies will be more stringent. But after thinking about it, Li Yanhang still didn't speak out his concerns. Zhou Yang, such a busy man, suddenly came over to see their Dabei. Was it because Dabei had some incredible technical content? Of course not. Zhou Yang suddenly asked them to add the medical module, which must have a deep meaning and purpose. Moreover, Zhou Yang's intention must also represent the intention of the country, which is definitely not something Beidou can compete with, not to mention that Beidou is now a state-owned enterprise, and everything serves the country. So Li Yanhan nodded and said, I understand. By the way, I heard that you have cooperated with Baidon self-driving cars. Have you completed it? Zhou Yang asked again. Speaking of self-driving, Li Yanhan's eyes lit up. He had asked Beidou to transform into artificial intelligence a long time ago, just to do self-driving. There is a test track behind. Do you want to go and have a look? Li Yanhan said. Arriving at the back of the building, the original parking lot was transformed into a large self-driving test site. At this time, a car with a sci-fi style was driving in the site. There was nothing much to say about the car itself, but this test site made Zhou Yang feel a little interesting. The entire site simulated various possible dangerous situations when driving on the road. For example, the ghost peeking out of the car that is being tested now. It is also the thing that drivers hate the most. You can see that on the left side of the road, where the self-driving vehicle is driving, there is a truck parked, blocking the car's view, and then a bicycle quickly rushes out from the front of the truck under the control of the track. Zhou Yang saw that the self-driving vehicle had already reacted, and began to brake sharply the moment the bicycle appeared. 2 black tire marks were directly braked on the ground. In the end, the bicycle rushed past the car by a hair's breadth, and did not hit it. Li Yanhang said with some pride, this car is temporarily named by Zaya series. It has passed the L3 level of self-driving early, and has also obtained relevant certification. Our goal is L5 level, that is, full self-driving, and even directly cancel the steering wheel and control system in the cockpit. L0 to L5 levels are international standard levels for self-driving. At this stage, the highest level that can be achieved is L3 level. For example, the latest Audi A8 is the world's first vehicle that can achieve L3 level self-driving on the road. As for L4 and L5, they are still only in the imagination, and there is no specific certification channel. There are many other simulation links in the test field, such as how to correct the car in the case of skidding, emergency avoidance, elk test, etc. Zhou Yang felt that this thing was actually much easier to realize after the emergence of artificial intelligence. Will this project be included in the smart city? Zhou Yang asked. Li Yanhang nodded. The planning of the smart city has the goal of realizing fully automatic transportation in the city. Zhou Yang nodded, thought for a while and commented, safety is very important. This thing is automatic driving. If it is hacked, it will be very dangerous. Don't worry, Mr. Zhao, we will definitely do a good job in system security, Li Yanhang said hurriedly. After speaking, Li Yanhang seemed to be hesitant and wanted to say something. And he looked at Li Xianxu vaguely. Zhou Yang's heart moved, and he guessed what Li Yanhang was thinking. 9 out of 10 are problems with the road review of autonomous driving vehicles. This kind of thing, even if it is claimed to be safe, there is still a problem of acceptance, such as evaluating its safety, then how to determine that a method is 100% safe, or how to define that the test method used is 100% safe. The country has no relevant laws and regulations in this regard. It can be said that the country still has concerns in this regard. Therefore, even if this car is developed, whether it can be put on the road still needs the approval of the country. Li Yanhang is worried about this. I'm afraid that he wants to take advantage of Zhou Yang's visit to say a few words to the country through Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang's words are worth 10,000 words from Beidou. Zhou Yang smiled and said, I think your car is good. You can test it in the smart city first. If the test is good, it will not be too late to promote it. Li Xianxu nodded. Li Yanhang's eyes lit up. Although Zhou Yang's words did not completely give up, it was also a solution. First test it in the smart city. If it works, it will be promoted nationwide. If it doesn't work, then continue to develop it. Okay, I understand. Li Yanhang said excitedly. After leaving Beidou, Zhou Yang did not rush back to the nuclear base, but went back home. He had been away for a month or two, and Zhou Yang felt that he owed Chen Ruoyan a little. Let's stop here. I'll go in by myself, Zhou Yang said to the driver. The driver nodded and drove away. Around them, some figures appeared and disappeared. They should be the security personnel hiding around. There should be someone at home. Zhou Yang pushed open the door. In the yard, Chen Ruoyan was tending to the flowers and plants. When she saw Zhou Yang suddenly appear at the door, she opened her eyes wide and was surprised. Then the next moment, Chen Ruoyan suddenly covered her mouth, ran to the corner of the flower bed, and vomited. Zhou Yang was dumbfounded. What happened? She saw him and vomited. Did he become ugly? No, he was still the same. Chapter 209, Warp Engine. Zhou Yang stepped forward quickly. What's wrong with you? Zhou Yang said, patting Chen Ruoyan's back gently. Chen Ruoyan retched for a while, and asked for water. Zhou Yang ran to the room, and got a bottle of water, and handed it to her. Chen Ruoyan drank a few sips, before she recovered a little. She stared at Zhou Yang speechlessly and said, what do you think? Are you sick? I'll ask the doctor to check you out. Zhou Yang reached out, and touched Chen Ruoyan's forehead. Chen Ruoyan opened Zhou Yang's hand and said helplessly, you are a great scientist, but you are so stupid. What do you think is the reason for a woman to retch? Zhou Yang's brain was like an electric shock, and he reacted instantly. You are pregnant. Zhou Yang picked up Chen Ruoyan, and said in surprise. Chen Ruoyan nodded shyly and said, you should have had the reaction after the Chinese New Year. I went to the hospital for a checkup, and it should have been 2 months. Speaking of which, we have been married for more than half a year, and it's already too slow to get pregnant now. My mother asked me about it before. Zhou Yang was so excited that he couldn't help himself. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Chen Ruoyan said, I know you are busy. How can I bother you with such a trivial matter as pregnancy? It's a trivial matter. How can it be a trivial matter? This is a big deal. Okay. Zhou Yang said excitedly, I have decided. I will stay at home with you for the next period of time, until our son is born. By the way, have you seen whether it is a son or a daughter? Chen Royan was speechless again and said, it's only been 2 months. How can you tell whether it is a boy or a girl? Besides, it's the same whether you have a boy or a girl. Do you still have that kind of traditional feudal thinking? No, son or daughter, they are all my offspring. I like them all. Zhou Yang said hurriedly. Chen Royan clenched her fist and said, that's better. I tell you, I have an excess of hormones now, and I get angry easily. Don't mess with me, you know what will happen. Zhou Yang's smile froze. With Chen Royan's skills, she would not hesitate to hit him. Also, you don't have to accompany me all the time. You are a great scientist. If you delay scientific research and national affairs because of a woman like me, I can't bear this responsibility. Chen Royan said again. Zhou Yang keenly sensed a hint of murderous intent and hurriedly said, it's okay. I'm mainly responsible for the general direction. The specific research work is handed over to the people below, so I can work from home. It's the same. Chen Royan nodded with satisfaction and said, let's go online and accompany me to kill the boss. Break the boss? Zhou Yang was stunned. Did Chen Royan become an internet addict during this period of time? Chen Royan said, it's not as exaggerated as you think. I'm also free, so I play occasionally. The main thing is to travel around the world. I can't go in reality, so I can only go in the virtual space. And some people on the internet say that this way of brainwave access may be bad for babies, so I don't dare to play for too long. As Zhou Yang's wife, her status must be different. If she wants to go abroad, she can't even think about it. Usually, there is nothing to do, so she can only go online and kill time in the virtual space. It's not bad for babies, right? What so-called experts are talking nonsense. Zhou Yang said speechlessly. He knew the access method of the virtual helmet best. It was equivalent to sleeping and dreaming. I haven't heard that sleeping and dreaming are bad for babies. In the following time, Zhou Yang stayed at home to accompany Chen Royan. Then he received some phone calls to wish him well. After all, Zhou Yang decided to stay at home to work, and he must tell the reason. Among the several key upgrades of the second generation mecha, the energy problem has been solved halfway, and the weapon system problem is still being worked on. Lin Dawo's team is also making rapid research progress. Then there is the propulsion system. It is also the focus of Zhou Yang's next work. In order to continue upgrading and increase the speed of the propeller, based on the first generation of mecha particle thrusters, the technical direction given by the system is the curvature engine. The concept of the curvature engine has been proposed for a long time. In theory, the curvature engine should be the fastest engine before the superluminal engine. In other words, the curvature engine can be infinitely close to the speed of light, but it cannot exceed the speed of light from a theoretical basis. Its principle comes from the black hole. The specific physical principle is relatively vague. To make a vivid analogy, it is equivalent to a spaceship being a ball, moving on the plane of space. How to speed up? One way is to add a thrust to the sphere. This is the principle of various engines. But there is another way, which is to continuously smash the space in front, turn the space into an inclined plane, and then let the sphere roll down by itself, rolling faster and faster. The key to the curvature engine technology is to create a curvature space like the black hole singularity. According to the mass energy conservation formula, a large enough mass can cause the curvature of space, and a large enough mass can also be equivalent to a large enough energy. The electric propulsion of the particle thruster alone cannot reach such energy. Only controlled nuclear fusion can generate such huge energy, form curvature space, and continue to generate it, and then it can propel the spacecraft forward. Controlled nuclear fusion is equivalent to the preconditions, and it has been completed. The principle is also relatively simple. However, no matter how simple it is still a big problem to actually produce it and mass produce it. Zhou Yang spent half a month to complete the technical research and development route according to the technical information given by the system, and then went to the Wanghu Village Research Institute to hand it over to Yi Rongming and others. Curvature engine. Mr. Zhao, your idea is really too big. Li Bingxuan said blankly. Yi Rongming and Zhu Chen had similar reactions. During this period, the three led their respective teams, mainly connecting with major domestic military enterprises and research institutes to provide technical support. The country means that relevant technical achievements, such as particle thrusters, high-strength crystal steel, transmission systems, hydraulic systems, and other technologies, are applied to military weapons. In the foreseeable future, there will be fighter jets with particle thrusters, as well as various high-performance tanks and so on. These jobs are already too small for Yi Rongming, and the other two. The three knew that Zhou Yang was in charge of the large project of controlled nuclear fusion. Now that controlled nuclear fusion was completed, they were still thinking about whether to contact Zhou Yang and ask him to give them a larger and more challenging project. Now that Zhou Yang came by himself and brought them a project, the three never thought that Zhou Yang would bring such a large project. Curvature engine. Are we going to develop a spaceship? Yi Rongming exclaimed. If this thing is developed, we can directly travel in space. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 2 Steps. Zhou Yang smiled and said, "It's not that exaggerated. A spaceship must be able to fly faster than the speed of light and make space jumps. A spaceship that can't fly faster than the speed of light and can't make space jumps is not a spaceship." Yi Rongming said, "I roughly understand the principle, but the controlled nuclear fusion technology has not yet broken through the miniaturization. We can't install such a huge nuclear fusion device as an energy source. The current controlled nuclear fusion device has a diameter of more than 30 meters. It's so big, how big should the entire curvature engine be?" Zhou Yang said, "Take it step by step. Nuclear fusion has already started miniaturization research. My idea is that we can take 2 steps. The first step is to build a prototype to verify the relevant technologies in the curvature engine, because it has some connections with our particle thrusters. So we can first develop a huge thruster based on the existing controlled nuclear fusion, so that it has huge thrust, which is thousands of times the thrust of the existing particle thrusters. Such a big guy. What do you think about installing it on an aircraft carrier? Make an aircraft carrier that can fly in the sky?" The three of them opened their mouths at the same time. Aircraft carrier in the sky? An aircraft carrier of tens of thousands of tons, flying directly into the sky. It is exciting and shocking to think about it. But if you think about it carefully, it is not impossible under the existing technical conditions. How does that sentence say that, as long as the engine thrust is enough, a brick can also fly into the sky? With nuclear fusion output energy, why can't an aircraft carrier fly into the sky? Zhou Yang continued. Through the first step of the test model, verify some technologies, accumulate some technical achievements, and finally, on the basis of completing the miniaturization of nuclear fusion, take the last step and build a real curvature engine. The three looked at each other and nodded. What about the nuclear fusion device? Yi Rongming asked. Since we are going to do research, we must build a nuclear fusion device here. I'll arrange it. In about a month, we can build a nuclear fusion device at the Wanghu Village Research Institute. It seems that we have to transform it again. The mountain has been hollowed out, so we can only dig underground. But after thinking about it, Zhou Yang decided not to dig and build the research institute directly on the ground. Anyway, the United States has known about this place for a long time, and even sent fighter jets to bomb this place. There is no difference between the ground and the underground. In a blink of an eye, it is June. The launch of the Dabei robot has also entered the countdown, and Beidou is already preparing for the press conference. The momentum has been created, and due to the love of the image of Dabei, the attention is still very high. Moreover, this is the first robot with an artificial intelligence program after all, which still attracts a lot of attention, not to mention that it is also a product of Beidou. Now everyone knows that Beidou's backend is Matrix Energy. Matrix Energy has a close relationship with the country and Zhou Yang. In the end, the press conference was scheduled for June 6th. Li Yanhang also asked Zhou Yang through Fuxi whether he could attend the press conference. Zhou Yang thought about it and gave up, but since he couldn't be at the scene, he decided to help Dabei build momentum. And if Dabei sells well, it will also help Zhou Yang's medical machine. The medical machine project is also being prepared. Relevant life science experts have been transferred. It is expected to be launched in mid-June. At that time, a special research institute will be opened in the Wanghu Village Research Institute to build a large high-standard biological laboratory. As for how to create momentum, Zhou Yang also has a way. Zhou Yang has the finalized Dabe robot at home, which was specially sent by Beidou. Zhou Yang mainly uses it to monitor Chen Ruoyan's physical condition at any time. Of course, this guy can also be used as a strong laborer. Zhou Yang took out his mobile phone and logged into Douyin, which he had not logged into for a long time. Although Zhou Yang's Douyin account has only posted 2 videos, the number of fans is still the most among all Douyin accounts, reaching an astonishing 470 million, surpassing the crowd. It took some time for Zhou Yang to shoot a video and post it. Douyin Operation Department. The next moment Zhou Yang posted the video, the Douyin Operation Department had received the news. Oh my god, is this true? Zhou Yang's account actually posted a video. Oh my god, after more than half a year, he finally posted a video. The operations department howled in a rage. Operations Director Luo Han Wen also got the news immediately and said excitedly, "Then what are you still standing there for? Promote it for me. Boss, do you think Mr. Zhao still needs us to promote him with his fans?" It is no exaggeration to say that almost everyone who registered a Douyin account followed Zhou Yang. So when Zhou Yang posted a video, many people quickly saw Zhou Yang's video. Fuck, am I dazzled? Zhou Yang actually posted a video. After more than half a year, did he finally remember the password? Don't make trouble, the upstairs person. He is a busy man. He just completed the controlled nuclear fusion project. He is probably taking a break, so he has the time to post a video. The number of comments on the video instantly exceeded tens of thousands. The number of likes, needless to say, jumped by millions per second. Many people clicked in, saw that it was Zhou Yang's video, clicked like first, and then watched the video content. The video content is Zhou Yang adjusting the position of the phone camera, so Zhou Yang's big face appears at the beginning. It's confirmed, Zhou Yang never uses beauty filters when shooting videos. Is this at home? Are you letting yourself go? It's a little sloppy. Mr. Zhao, you can shave your beard. Our company's Gillette razor is very easy to use. Various advertisers also began to join in the fun. In the video, Zhou Yang adjusted the camera position and then lay back on the sofa. This is self-directed and self-acted. No one else can do it. Don't you know that it was edited in advance? Many viewers smiled knowingly. Then, Zhou Yang lay on the sofa and shouted, "Dabe, bring a bottle of Coke." Many viewers were shocked. Dabe, which Dabe? Then they saw that a white thing appeared in the video. It was the Dabe in the movie, exactly the same, walking towards Zhou Yang with a naive step and holding a bottle of Coke in his hand. Fuck, this is Dabe. Didn't Beidou keep pushing the news that they are about to release an intelligent robot called Dabe, which is said to be exactly the same as Dabe in the movie, but no one knows what it looks like. It turns out that it looks like this. It hasn't been launched yet. How come Zhou Yang already has one at home? Is the above statement meant to be funny? Maybe Dabe was developed under the leadership of Zhou Yang. In the video, Dabe directly handed the Coke to Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang didn't take it and said, "Help me open it." Dabe looked down at the pull ring of the Coke, then looked at his thick fingers and said, "Are you serious?" As he said that, he blinked his eyes cutely with an expression that said, "I think you are just kidding me." Chapter 211 Dabe release. Seeing this scene, many people almost burst out laughing. Dabe said that the harm is not high, but it is very insulting. But this Dabe is very smart. Nonsense, I was talking about connecting to the artificial intelligence program. Zhou Yang took the Coke and said seriously, "You can't even open a bottle of Coke. What's the use of you? You might as well sell it." Dabe immediately showed a wronged and pitiful expression on his face and hurriedly said, "Master, don't sell me. I'm very useful. I can massage your legs." As he said, he quickly knelt down and massaged Zhou Yang's legs. "By the way, I can also mop the floor." Dabe stood up again, ran to get the mop, and mopped the floor. Seeing this scene, the audience felt funny and exclaimed that Dabe was too smart. This thing is so cute. I really want one. It must be very comfortable to hold it softly. And it can work after buying it. It is simply a little housework expert. I just don't know how much it will cost. Just don't sell it too expensive. It's probably not cheap. After all, it's a robot, and it is said to have many functions. It must be the price of a car. Dissuade me, discourage me. If it really costs hundreds of thousands, I can't afford it. Everyone was talking about it, and at this time, the video ended. Everyone understood that Zhou Yang was promoting Dabe, but the facts proved that the effect was not ordinary. Major media accounts reposted it, and the popularity of Dabe robot instantly rushed to the top of the hot list. Douyin, Weibo, Baidu, the attention was amazing. Many celebrities also said that once Dabe was on the market, they would buy one immediately and enjoy the feeling of Zhou Yang's same model. As for Li Yanhong, he was very surprised. He wanted Zhou Yang to come to the press conference to help promote it. He was still very sorry to learn that Zhou Yang decided not to come. But he didn't expect Zhou Yang to promote them in such a way. And the publicity effect is so good. Time came to June 6th. Baidu spent a lot of money to broadcast, live on all platforms. The host of the press conference was Wrongfully himself. He had not appeared in public for a long time. After greeting everyone, he said, "Originally, I prepared a lot of lines to introduce our Dabe robot, but later I found that Mr. Zhou had almost introduced our Dabe robot through the video." The guests on the scene laughed knowingly. Zhou Yang's video pushed the popularity of Dabe to the extreme. But it's still necessary to introduce it. Next, Wrongfully began to introduce the situation of Dabe robot, from skin materials to internal structure, related data, etc. Not many people care about these technical data. Because from the Dabe in Zhou Yang's video, it has perfectly met their fantasy Dabe robot. It took more than an hour for Wrongfully to finish the introduction. Then the next thing is the price issue that many people are most concerned about. Wrongfully said, "Everyone present was excited. When people mention Dabe on the internet, the first reaction is that they like it, and the second reaction is that it must be very expensive. There are also many people who specifically discuss the price of Dabe. It is impossible for it to be too low, because it is a robot after all, and it is a big item. But it is also unlikely that it is too expensive." Among the reasons analyzed by everyone, the most convincing reason is that Baidu is now a state-owned enterprise. State-owned enterprises must make profits, of course, but more often, they must cooperate with the national strategic direction. Some people analyze that mechas have been launched, and artificial intelligence has also emerged, but the country has not yet launched intelligent robots in the future world. Of course, it is impossible to expect private enterprises to launch them, because these key technologies are in the hands of the state. If the state does not launch them, it may be due to considerations of the general direction. So Baidu's launch of this Dabe may be an attempt by the state to see the social acceptance first, and what impact the intelligent robot will have on society. For anything, we will only know what kind of impact it will have after it is launched. There are not too many examples of some high-tech being ruined, so everyone speculates that as a product of experimental nature, the price may not be too high, and as many people as possible should have Dabe. Only in this way can the purpose of testing be achieved. This guess was also recognized by many people. In the end, everyone speculated that the price of Dabe might be between 100,000 and 200,000. But no one knew the exact price until the day of the press conference. Li Yanhong did not keep the secret for too long. He waved his hand and a string of numbers appeared on the big screen: 89,999. After seeing this price, the scene was silent, and then there was an astonishing applause and cheers. There was also a burst of cheers on major live broadcast platforms. Oh my god, did I miss 19? It's only 4 nines 90,000 yuan. Is this true? I thought before that this thing would cost at least 100,000 or 200,000 yuan. At that time, I thought it was just a big toy and there was no use for it. Now it's only 90,000 yuan. I'm tempted. I'm really tempted. 90,000 yuan, no problem. It's a conscience price. Am I too poor? Why do I think 90,000 yuan is so expensive? It's just a big toy. What's the use of buying it? Didn't they say it can also monitor your health and help you find diseases? Then I can go to the hospital. It won't cost 90,000 yuan to get a physical examination at the hospital. All kinds of comments were made on major live broadcast platforms. Some said it was a conscience, and some thought it was expensive. Although Robin Lee introduced Dabe very well, in the eyes of many people, he is just a big toy. Many people are still running around for 3 meals a day, so how can they have the spare money to buy such a big toy? The press conference site. After announcing the price, Robin Lee said, in order to take care of some low-income people who are willing to buy, we will also launch a 1-year interest-free installment service, which means that you can take Dabe home for only 7,500 yuan. The specific launch date of Dabe will be set on June 15th, and we have prepared sufficient supply. The press conference was over, but the popularity of Dabe did not end. In addition, foreign media also reprinted the report. Who doesn't like the world's first artificial intelligence robot with such a simple and cute appearance? However, Baidu has no plan to launch Dabe abroad, so many foreigners who saw the report first thought, why this thing is not launched abroad? In this heated discussion, time came to June 15th in a flash. Baidu's official website opened sales channels as soon as possible. In addition, the 54 large experience flagship stores across the country also opened on time to welcome every user. Chapter 212 A car accident. City, Dabe Experience flagship store. On the morning of June 15th, the store clerks arrived early to prepare for the first day of opening. At 8 o'clock, the store clerks opened the store door. Outside the door, there was a loneliness. Why is there no one? That's right, I thought there would be a long queue. The store clerks whispered, and the expected 100-meter long queue and crazy buying did not appear. Outside the door were office workers in a hurry, and no one stayed in front of the store for too long. The store manager Zhou Yang also had a serious expression. After a while, he clapped his hands to cheer up the staff, and then said, "Isn't it normal that there is no rush to buy? You have to understand that we sell robots worth 90,000 yuan, not mobile phones worth 9,000 yuan. This is just like a 4S store. Have you seen a rush to buy cars at a 4S store when it opened? Relax, remember the operating procedures, and don't make mistakes. Do you understand?" Many staff nodded in agreement. After all, the Dabe is a big item. It is not like electronic products such as mobile phones, where there will be a rush to buy. It was not until 9 o'clock that the flagship store welcomed the first customer. It was a young man wearing sunglasses and a mask. He came up and asked, "Is there any stock? Can I pick it up today?" Zhang Yun personally received him and said quickly, "Of course, we have plenty of stock." "Okay, swipe the card." The young man was direct. Zhang Yun smiled and nodded, but still asked, "Don't you want to experience it? We have a special experience of Dabe here, and I can also give you a detailed introduction to Dabe's functions." No, it was introduced very clearly at the press conference. "Hurry up and swipe the card. I'm in a hurry to go back," the young man said. Zhang Yun didn't say anything more, and took the young man to swipe the card directly, and finally took out a huge packing wooden box from the warehouse. "Do you need to activate it on site, or take it back and activate it yourself?" Zhang Yun asked. Seeing the young man was stunned, Zhang Yun explained, "The activation process requires a set of identification procedures. I suggest you activate it on site. We can also tell you how to use some accessories and precautions during use." The young man thought for a while and said, "Then activate it on site." Zhang Yun nodded and said, "Okay, I'll have someone unpack it now. Let the staff help unpack it." Soon, the 1.6 meter tall Dabe robot appeared in front of the young man, but it was still shriveled and not inflated. "Please take off your sunglasses and mask, so that Dabe can recognize it," Zhang Yun said. The young man hesitated for a moment, but still took off his mask. Zhang Yun was stunned. The clerk next to him also exclaimed immediately, "Isn't this Zheng Xiaoxin?" "That's him." Zheng Xiaoxin quickly shushed and said, it's me, alright, hurry up and activate it." Zhang Yun came back to her senses and quickly instructed Zheng Xiaoxin to activate it. The whole process is voice plus facial recognition, and then the system will be activated. Dabe started, automatically absorbed air, and began to inflate. In 5 seconds, it turned into a cute look in the movie. Master, hello. Dabe turned his head and looked at Zheng Xiaoxin. The voice was also the voice in the movie. Cute. Zheng Xiaoxin walked forward and circled around Dabe with a satisfied expression. Let's go home. Zheng Xiaoxin called out, and Dabe followed in small steps and then got into Zheng Xiaoxin's G-class with a little effort. The expression of twisting his butt to get into the car attracted Zheng Xiaoxin's laughter. When Zhou Yang posted a video of Dabe on Douyin, Zheng Xiaoxin started following it. At that time, he wanted to buy one. After waiting for the official release, he rushed over to buy one. In the car, Zheng Xiaoxin asked while driving, Dabe, what can you do? After Dabe got in the car, he adjusted the inflation of the airbag by himself, shrunk his body, and sat obediently in the back seat. When he heard Zheng Xiaoxin's words, he said, I can do everything. The key is what you want me to do, master. Otherwise, I will sing a song for you. Then he sang in a babbling voice. And it's not just playing a song directly, but really singing. Of course, singing is not good, but it also has a different flavor. Driving all the way home, when passing a traffic light, Zheng Xiaoxin turned left and started first. At this moment, a truck suddenly appeared on the opposite side, rushing over, and with a bang, it came into close contact with the G-class. Although the G-class is very hard, it is not as hard as a truck. Moreover, the truck should have been running at a yellow light, so it was going very fast. The G-class was pushed out more than 10 meters away, rolled twice, and finally stopped on the ground. The scene was in chaos. Many people gathered around, and some called the police. Half of the G-class had been completely deformed by the collision, and it was extremely miserable. At this moment, the back door suddenly banged open. Then, under the gaze of everyone, a white thing slowly came out. What is this thing? And it can move. I know, this is Dabe, the robot released by Beidou. It seems to have been released today. Has the owner already bought it? Dabe got out of the car. The violent collision did not affect him much, and the skin was hard, so there was no damage. Looking at the onlookers, Dabe asked, excuse me, has anyone called the police? And 120? My owner may be injured. Everyone was shocked again. So smart. Of course, artificial intelligence is good. I called the police, and 120, and you wait for the traffic police to come. Dabe came to the driver's seat and looked around. In the cockpit, all the airbags were deployed, and Zheng Xiaoxin had fainted, but the car door was stuck, and could not be opened. At this time, Dabe's right hand suddenly deflated and became shriveled, and then grabbed the door handle. In the inflated state, the fingers were too thick to hold the door handle. Holding the door handle tightly, Dabe suddenly exerted force, and with a squeak, the deformed car door was forcibly opened by Dabe. Dabe's skeleton is a metal robot. After using high-strength crystal steel, the skeleton itself has amazing strength. In the design, Dabe can burst out thousands of kilograms of force, just like a violent robot. It's just hidden under the cute appearance, and no one knows it. After opening the car door, Dabe stepped forward again, unbuckled the seatbelt, and did not move Zheng Xiaoxin immediately, but pressed his big hand on Zheng Xiaoxin's body, and began to detect Zheng Xiaoxin's physical condition. And not only to detect vital signs, Dabe will also gently press Zheng Xiaoxin's body. There are sensors on his fingers, which can accurately feel the pressure feedback. In this way, it can be determined whether there is a fracture or other conditions. Of course, Dabe can only perform this kind of simple inspection. At first, Beidou had imagined installing an X-ray or ultrasound module so that it could quickly scan the inside of the body. However, both of these devices are quite large, and miniaturization requires special research, so they finally decided to give up. Chapter 213 Ruined Technology. Soon, the traffic police arrived. Seeing Dabe next to the car, the traffic police was also stunned. Hello, traffic police uncle, I'm Dabe. This is what happened just now. Dabe walked forward, his eyes shone with light, and projected a picture at a distance of 50 centimeters. It was a holographic projection. It was playing the situation inside the car starting from Zheng Xiaoxin's left turn. My master was driving normally, and did not commit any illegal acts such as speeding. Dabe said. The traffic police nodded stupidly, and he was a little dumbfounded. His mind was full of one feeling: is this robot already so intelligent? At this time, the ambulance also arrived. Like the traffic police, the doctor was also stunned when he saw Dabe. Dabe came forward in small steps and pointed at Zheng Xiaoxin and said, "Doctor, my master's heartbeat and breathing signs are good, and there are no obvious external injuries or fractures on his body. He is now in a coma, and a brain cord scan is needed to determine the extent of his injuries." The doctor couldn't help but open his mouth wide. After a quick check, he found that everything was correct. He couldn't help but say, "How did you do it?" Dabe raised his right hand and said, "I have sensors on my hands that can monitor a person's vital signs. At the same time, my database contains professional medical rescue knowledge, and my hands also have feedback functions. I can sense through touch whether a person has fractures or other conditions." Everyone around was stunned. Fuck, this robot is so awesome. Yes, it's omnipotent and can even provide first aid. I remember hearing at the press conference that it has medical capabilities, but I didn't listen carefully at the time. It turns out to be so powerful. And from the beginning, it will run out of the car by itself, open the door, check if the person is injured, and call for help. This thing is very useful. If you have an accident in a remote place, this thing can save your life. Looking at it today, I found that this thing is not expensive at 90,000. 90,000? So expensive? I just wanted to buy one. 90,000. Forget it. 90,000 is not cheap, but you have to think about it. If there is really any danger, such as a fire at home, it can remind you and save your life. How many 90,000 is worth it? The ambulance quickly sent Zheng Xiaoxin away, and Dabe also followed it slowly. Before leaving, he did not forget to take away important items such as wallets, mobile phones, etc. in the car. The relevant video was soon posted online. Zheng Xiaoxin is already a celebrity, and his popularity is high. Once the video was released, it quickly became a hot topic. In the comments, in addition to some fans who were concerned about Zheng Xiaoxin's injuries, more people were discussing Dabe's intelligence. "This thing is amazing. It can save people at critical moments." That's right, I thought it was expensive before, but now I think it's not expensive. Forget it, just grit your teeth and buy one. Let's go. At most we can pay in installments. Beidou headquarters. The sales channel was launched at midnight that day. Li Yanhan came to the company in the morning and asked about the sales situation as soon as possible. The national sales volume is 78,400 units. Li Yanhan nodded with satisfaction. This number exceeded his expectations. After all, this is a robot, and it's not cheap. It's the value of a car. And now it's just the beginning of sales. Li Yanhan didn't expect it to be a big hit right away. It's best to slowly accumulate word of mouth over a long period of time. The data of national flagship stores has not yet come out, but it shouldn't be too high. After all, there are not many flagship stores. But at noon, the sales data suddenly surged by more than 10,000. Li Yanhan soon found out the reason. The video of the celebrity Zheng Xiaoxin getting into a car accident and being rescued by Dabe was posted online, which made Dabe popular and led many people to decide to buy it. This is a blessing in disguise. Li Yanhan was a little amused. Dabe's popularity continued to ferment. Almost overnight, many mobile Dabe robots appeared on the road. "Dabe, help me go downstairs and buy breakfast." Then Dabe walked downstairs in small steps and quickly bought a breakfast. Various videos of using Dabe in various ways are flooding Douyin. Some people even use Dabe to make money. On a construction site, Dabe was holding 3 bags of cement and running back and forth in small steps. The owner placed a recliner next to him and drank soda, saying, 300 a day, 90,000, 300 days, and the investment will be recovered in less than a year. Brothers, I have thought of a good way to make money. Invest a few million, buy a bunch of Dabe, specialize in moving bricks, and recover the investment in 1 year. The second year is free money. Beidou says that Dabe has a 3-year warranty period. In 3 years, you can make at least a few million. Although this video is a joke, it seems to have set a precedent, and then all kinds of joke videos came. What Dabe helps me deliver express and earns over 10,000 a month easily. When Zhou Yang was resting, he was browsing Douyin and saw all kinds of joke videos. Seeing this kind of video, Zhou Yang smiled knowingly. But as he watched, Zhou Yang suddenly put away his smile and his expression became serious. "What's wrong?" Chen Royan asked next to him. Zhou Yang handed the phone to Chen Royan and said, "You can read it yourself." It was a news report that a drug dealer had a wild idea and thought of using Dabe to deliver drugs. He successfully delivered drugs several times before being discovered by the police. Chen Royan was also shocked and said in surprise, "These people are really bold and even came up with this method." Zhou Yang frowned and suddenly realized that launching intelligent robots so quickly might not be a good thing. Zhou Yang felt that this news might just be the beginning. Next, if there were no restrictions, there would definitely be more people using intelligent robots to do bad things. For example, using intelligent robots to rob banks and commit crimes. And although Dabe looks cute, it is actually very powerful. At least if it really punches humans, ordinary people will definitely not be able to withstand it. Will it be like in the movie, adding evil chips and turning it into an evil robot? It is not impossible. The artificial intelligence inside Dabe is a primitive artificial intelligence. Although there are some underlying restrictions, such as not being able to do bad things, this thing will have loopholes. Just like the drug transport, he didn't tell Dabe what he was transporting, but just said to help him deliver the goods, and Dabe believed it. And this is not easy to restrict. Of course, there are many ways to restrict it, such as letting artificial intelligence identify that when the owner asks to deliver something, it will open it to check or identify it through the target person of the delivery. But this still has problems. Checking the owner's things without the owner's consent is against the rules of the program. And what if someone really just wants to use Dabe to deliver goods? After thinking about it, Zhou Yang decided to add a layer of restrictions to the intelligent robot first. This kind of thing is just beginning now. If it is really ruined by some people, it will be difficult to promote intelligent robots. Chapter 214 Laser Gun. Soon, Dabe was upgraded for free, which was to add the networking function. It was said that after networking, Dabe would have more powerful functions, such as automatic navigation. But the real purpose was to monitor the use of Dabe from the big data background. For some keywords involving illegal acts, Dabe would actively upload them. For example, if a user of Dabe suddenly told Dabe one day that he would help him kill this person, Dabe would identify the keyword of killing and then actively upload the database to screen the data of Dabe's use for a period of time to determine whether the user was just talking for fun or really had the idea of killing. If there was really the idea of killing, Dabe might directly call the police and the user would be greeted by legal sanctions. If it was just used normally, all usage data would still comply with the original rules, except for some core data, which would be cleaned up and overwritten regularly. Although such an upgrade could not completely plug this loophole, it could at least greatly prevent people with ulterior motives from using Dabe to do bad things. Time came to July. Zhou Yang suddenly received a call from Lindaewei. "Mr. Zhao, we have made a laser gun." Zhou Yang was stunned and a little bit unbelievable. "Is it so fast? Wait for me, I will go back and take a look tomorrow." The next day, Zhou Yang rushed back to the nuclear base. In front of Zhou Yang was a very strange rifle, which was streamlined overall, but much larger than ordinary rifles. Zhou Yang picked it up and found it unexpectedly light. Except for some key structures, we use synthetic hard plastics, which greatly reduces the weight of the gun. An old man next to him said. This old man is a weapons expert sent by Northern Industries, named Chen Kaiaoi. He once participated in the design of 95 and has rich theoretical experience in gun design. After speaking, Chen Kaiaoi said, "To be honest, I have designed weapons for my whole life, and I never thought that one day I would design such a gun. This gun completely subverts the design concept of all guns. Needless to say, the difference in details, the biggest difference is that this thing does not have a barrel, but a hierarchical accelerated barrel-like structure. Its main function is to use the offset effect of the magnetic field to accelerate the laser bullet in a constrained state in a fixed direction and eventually reach the maximum speed. In addition, the magazine firing structure, etc. are all different. Zhou Yang smiled and said, does it feel like designing a large toy gun? Chen Qiaoi nodded quickly and said, yes, that's the feeling. When this gun is fired, there is almost no recoil. It is exactly the same as a toy gun. When it is fired, the laser gun still has recoil, but this recoil is so small that the user can hardly feel it. There is no ejection shell, loading bullets, or even gun smoke. In addition, it is light in itself, and when it is fired, it feels like a toy gun, without using a hot weapon at all. After one shot, the gunshot is deafening, and the shoulder is crushed. Where is the power? Zhou Yang picked up the laser gun and pulled the trigger at the target in the distance. There was no sound. The moment the trigger was pulled, a light blue light shot out from the gun tip. It flashed and passed away. The eyes had no time to catch it. The concrete wall target 300 meters away exploded with a ball of light. Lin Dewei said, we call this gun a laser gun, but in fact it is essentially a super high temperature plasma energy group wrapped in a magnetic field. Therefore, its power not only has penetrating high temperature burns, but also has a certain kinetic energy impact. According to Mr. Chen's opinion, when we first designed it, we designed the effective range of the laser gun to be within the range of 300 to 400 meters. Within this range, the decay efficiency reaches the most ideal state and can effectively kill the enemy. Zhou Yang nodded. The laser gun is not actually a pure laser gun, but a plasma energy group constrained by a magnetic field. It shoots out like a laser. In fact, laser is pure light and can reach the speed of light. If the laser is really shot out as a bullet, the human eye cannot see it at all. And in the shooting just now, Zhou Yang could still vaguely see the trajectory of the bullet. Secondly, laser is a beam of light. In theory, light can be reflected. That is to say, your laser weapon can reflect back to you along the same path. Of course, this is only theoretical, because the existing laser weapons have great energy, and light also has thermal energy effect. Even if it is a mirror, it will absorb some heat energy in the process of reflecting laser. Even if the ratio of absorbed heat energy is extremely low, the super high power of laser weapons can instantly destroy the mirror. But the laser gun in Zhou Yang's hand will not be like this. It is a ball of energy. When it hits a hard target, it will explode and form a heat energy sputtering effect. When it hits a soft body, it will directly form a penetration and burning effect. Zhou Yang continued to pull the trigger. The trigger also has a good damping feeling. It may be because he was afraid that this gun was too toy. The muzzle kept shooting bullets, and the continuous light trajectory was like a tracer bullet, shooting out continuously and bombarding the target. As for the firing rate, the accurate data is 162 rounds per minute. Lin Dewei said, this firing rate is not high. Any rifle in the world can easily reach a firing rate of several hundred rounds per minute. For an outlier like the A94, due to the special design of delayed recoil, the first two bullets can reach an astonishing rate of fire of 1800 rounds per minute. However, no matter how fast the rate of fire is, the magazine capacity is limited, and the magazine capacity of the laser gun is related to the battery capacity. As long as it can be powered, it can fire continuously. How many times can it fire continuously? Zhou Yang asked. Lin Dewei said, our initial idea was to design the battery pack in the buttstock, and then use the replaceable buttstock to replace the battery in battle. But later, it was still Elder Chen who reminded us, so we designed a magazine for this gun, and its magazine is actually the battery pack. Zhou Yang had noticed a long time ago that, although this gun has a unique appearance, it still has a magazine. At first, Zhou Yang thought it might be for the convenience of gripping, and there are other structures inside. Now he knows that the battery pack is designed here. Chen Qiaoi smiled and said, this is a test gun after all. My idea is that soldiers who are used to using thermal weapons may not be used to using laser weapons all of a sudden, so I designed the battery pack to be a magazine style. Look here, there is a series of indicator lights that will show the battery level of the battery pack. At the same time, there is a very small buzzer inside. Once the power is exhausted, it will flash a red light and beep as a reminder. The advantage of this design is that the battery pack can be replaced quickly, and we have also designed a recyclable device. The exhausted battery pack can be recycled for recharging and reused. Chapter 215 Laser Sword. A battery pack like this can shoot about 800 times. Zhou Yang nodded. Shooting 800 times should be enough, and if the battery pack is the same as the magazine, it is also very convenient to replace, and there is no need to worry about the battery life. Have you tested it? Zhou Yang asked again. The process from design to final production of a gun is still very long. It must be tested under various harsh conditions, such as cold, desert, mud, high humidity rainforest and other environments. The reason why AK is used in such a wide range is because it is durable. It can be taken out and shaken and still work. No matter how good a weapon is, it will jam in cold weather and break when soaked in water. This laser gun uses batteries. If it leaks electricity, it will definitely not work. In addition, the internal structure is delicate, and it will break if it falls. It is also not good. Chen Qiaoi said, "We have only conducted simple tests here, and have not conducted large-scale tests, but from the test results, the performance is still good, because from the beginning of the design, we have targeted waterproofing, and internal precision structure shock absorption design." Zhou Yang did not ask any more questions. Chen Qiaoi is a professional weapons expert. If he says it's okay, then it must be okay. It is impossible not to consider these issues. At this time, Lin Dawei said again, "By the way, Mr. Zhao, we have also designed the laser sword you mentioned." Oh. Zhou Yang's eyes lit up. The weapon system of the second generation mecha is actually a variety of plasma weapons, and these things are still very easy to design after the core technology breakthrough. Wang Songwen hurriedly ran away and took a relatively large hilt. The sword guard is about 30 centimeters, and the hilt is an astonishing 50 centimeters, and it is very thick and looks quite heavy. It is a bit difficult for Wang Songwen to hold it alone. Zhou Yang reached out and grabbed it, but found that he couldn't even hold it with one hand. It weighed about 30 or 40 kilograms. It's a bit heavy. Lin Dawei said, "But I remember you said that this laser sword is planned to be used for mechas. So we used high-strength crystal steel for the external material to ensure its hardness and not be damaged by impact." Zhou Yang nodded and said, "Can it be made smaller, to the extent of 2 or 3 pounds? If it is 2 or 3 pounds, normal people can wield it." Lin Dawei shook his head and said, "It can't be done for the time being, because if it is made smaller, the energy power cannot be achieved, and we have not yet studied a way to improve the efficiency. How to use it?" Wang Songwen stepped forward, placed the hilt on a fixture, and then pressed down a black oval protrusion on the hilt near the sword guard. 1 second after pressing it, a scorching light sprayed out, extending continuously to a length of 2 meters, and then stopped. It is less than 10 centimeters wide and 2 meters long, emitting a scorching light, just like in the movie. It is a laser sword. Zhou Yang nodded with satisfaction. If nothing else, at least the appearance is out. It is still very difficult to be able to confine the plasma energy within 2 meters. Just when he was about to ask about its power, with a puff, the sword slowly disappeared and it actually stalled. Wang Songwen said awkwardly, "It's out of power." Zhou Yang was stunned. It seemed to have only lasted for 5 seconds. Could it be that this thing is just for show? 5 seconds is enough to be a real man? Lin Dawei coughed lightly and said, "The internal generator is mainly in the hilt. It's too big. If we continue to expand the hilt, it will feel a bit weird. After all, it's already so thick and long. So the space left for the battery pack is really limited, and this thing consumes too much power." Zhou Yang said with a bit of a smile, "But it's too short. 5 seconds. The fight hasn't even started yet, and it's already out of power." Lin Dawei said quickly, "So we thought of a compromise." "Oh, what solution?" Lin Dawei said, "We have carefully considered that no matter how we design it, unless the energy density of the battery has another breakthrough, it will not be possible to keep this thing in combat for a long time, because it consumes too much power and the available battery volume is too small. So our idea is to let it share the battery with the mecha." Zhou Yang was stunned. "Sharing the battery with the mecha? What do you mean?" Lin Dawei said, "We added a wireless charging module to the hilt, and then added the same module to the mecha's hand. In this way, the mecha's battery can be used to power it. We have calculated that the power of mecha battery pack is enough for it to use for 10 minutes. Zhou Yang was amused. This method is really a compromise. It is a profound implementation of our country's fine tradition of using it no matter whether it is rustic or not. That's fine. Zhou Yang nodded. Anyway, this thing was designed for mechas, and sharing the mecha's power is also a good way. But in this case, before the miniaturization of controlled nuclear fusion is available, the mecha will probably have to carry 2 more battery compartments. At that time, don't worry about whether it looks good or not, just hang a lot of battery compartments on the back of the mecha. It doesn't matter if it looks rustic or not, as long as it has combat effectiveness. Well, I'll call a mecha to try it out, Zhou Yang said. He also wanted to see what it felt like to have a mecha equipped with a laser sword. Lin Dewei and others looked at each other, excited. They had researched this thing, but had not tested it properly. They wanted to call a mecha over, but with their identities, they couldn't call a mecha, and only Zhou Yang had this ability. Zhou Yang made a phone call, and a few hours later, a mecha arrived at the nuclear base. Mr. Zhou, the pilot of the mecha, was a major named Liu Yang. When he saw Zhou Yang, he gave a standard salute and then asked, "What do you want me to do?" "Just give the order." Zhou Yang pointed to the laser sword on the table and said, "I asked you to come here, because I'm going to change your weapon." Liu Yangchuan's eyes lit up, and he went forward to pick up the laser sword. The weight of dozens of kilograms was as light as a feather in the mecha's hand. He wondered, why is there only a hilt? Because it's a laser sword. Zhou Yang smiled. What, laser sword, the kind in the movie? Liu Yangchuan's eyes widened instantly. When he was selected as the mech pilot, Liu Yangchuan thought that the mech was already sci-fi enough, but he didn't expect that not only the mech, but also the laser sword had been developed. How to use it? Liu Yangchuan asked hurriedly. Zhou Yang said, "It can't be used now. Your mech needs some modifications." Next, Zhou Yang personally took the engineers to modify the mecha's hands. No one knew the internal structure of the mech better than Zhou Yang. After a little thought, he cleverly added a wireless power supply module. Chapter 216. Be a big one. The next day, the mecha transformation was completed. In the test field, Liu Yangchuan grabbed the hilt, took a deep breath, and pressed the switch of the hilt. In an instant, a 2-meter long sword body was ejected from the front of the hilt. Cool. Wang Songwen shouted excitedly. The mecha, full of sci-fi atmosphere, coupled with the laser sword, was so handsome that he had no friends. As for the others, they also had envious expressions on their faces. The mecha in front of them met all the men's fantasies about mechas. In a blink of an eye, 5 seconds passed. The laser sword that shared the power of the mecha was no longer a real man for 5 seconds. "Don't stand there stupidly, move and try the power," Zhou Yang shouted loudly. Liu Yangchuan nodded and rushed out with the laser sword. The test field was full of silicone dummies. The mecha quickly approached a silicone dummy and chopped it down with a sword. With a puff, just like a hot knife cutting butter, the laser sword split the silicone dummy in half from top to bottom. It can be clearly seen that the edge of the silicone dummy was charred black, and the silicone was completely evaporated at the place where the sword passed. The main killing power of the laser sword is the same as that of the laser gun, which relies on the ultra-high temperature of the plasma, which can instantly evaporate the objects it touches. Liu Yangchuan rushed to a wooden stake again, and with a sword sweep, the wooden stake was directly cut in half, as if it were made of tofu, and the wooden stake instantly burned with fire. Next is the metal. In the test field, there was a cast iron ingot placed. Liu Yangchuan chopped it with a sword, and the effect was the same as before. The metal instantly vaporized and evaporated where the sword passed, and the edge of the contact also turned red instantly and melted into molten iron. Not bad. Chen Kaiaoi's eyes lit up and said, "If this is facing a tank, it will be scrapped with one sword." Everyone nodded. Zhou Yang also nodded secretly. Before, the mecha used cold weapons, and it could also chop tanks and armored vehicles with swords, but to have such power, it relied purely on the mecha itself to burst out a powerful force, plus the sharpness of the cold weapon. The laser sword is different. The mecha does not need to use too much power to achieve the same effect. Then there is the concrete wall. Liu Yangchuan chopped down with a sword, and with a bang, the concrete wall exploded directly. Although concrete is fireproof and flame retardant, it is not resistant to high temperatures and will expand and crack under high temperatures. After that, Liu Yang waved the laser sword in the test field as if he had turned on the invincible power, and the place he passed was a mess. No one could resist the sword. But it was so cool that in less than 10 minutes, Liu Yang hurriedly stopped and quickly turned off the laser sword. It's out of power. Everyone applauded. Zhou Yang couldn't help but sigh. Energy. Energy is really the foundation of technology. All technology is the use of energy. Mecha, this thing, uses batteries, is still a big toy after all. Only nuclear energy, unlimited energy, can make Mecha truly become a killing machine. Next, the laser gun was tested again, but the Mecha did not use the laser rifle used by ordinary people that Zhou Yang had seen before, but a laser cannon. It is about 1.7 meters long and as thick as a tree trunk. It is a laser gun specially designed for mechas. This thing is very powerful. With one shot, a 2-meter thick iron block can be blasted through. But the key is the power. With the power of the mecha itself, even with a battery compartment, it cannot meet the use of this laser cannon. The miniaturization of controlled nuclear fusion. Zhou Yang sighed. The limitation of energy has already constrained the development of science and technology. If the arc reactor is developed now, then any laser cannon can be developed immediately and then installed on various vehicles. But miniaturization is too difficult. Zhu Jindang's team has worked very hard. Not long ago, they successfully reduced the Surenchi to a diameter of 20 meters. It has been reduced by nearly half. But there is still a huge gap from the miniaturization that Zhou Yang wants. Zhou Yang thinks that it may take a year to achieve the level of Iron Man's arc reactor. Sir, since it is more difficult to make it small, why not make it big? Fuxi suddenly said. Then, Fuxi waved his hand, and a huge mecha appeared in front of him. Zhou Yang was stunned. This looks like the dangerous wanderer in the movie Pacific Rim. That's right. Fuxi nodded and said, I've calculated that with our current technical reserves, humanoid mechas powered by nuclear energy cannot be manufactured, but big guys like this one, that are nearly 100 meters long can be manufactured. Zhou Yang nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, the smaller the technological products are, the more difficult they are. Just like a mobile phone, if you want to make it as big as a Big Brother, you can directly install a row of core 10th generation chips, and the performance can beat all mobile phones in seconds. If you want to make something with super performance in a very small space, the difficulty will increase exponentially. If the thing is big, it doesn't need to be too precise. If the performance is not enough, then make up for it with quantity. Fuxi said, I have analyzed it. There are several difficulties in making such a large mecha. The first is energy. It requires strong enough energy to drive such a large mecha. If an ordinary reactor has high radiation and a large volume, once it leaks in battle, it will have unpredictable and terrible consequences. And these defects will not cause any problems in controlled nuclear fusion, because Surenchi uses cold fusion. The fusion process does not produce nuclear radiation, and waste can be directly processed. In addition, the energy output is greater, and it is safe and reliable. Then there is the material. Such a large mecha weighs more than 1,000 tons. If there is no super strong metal, it can't even stand. But we have high strength crystalline steel. This material can fully support this level of mecha. Third, it is the neural access mode. In the movie, it is a neural synchronization method. I think this method has something in common with virtual reality technology. Moreover, we have completed brainwave access and can completely achieve the level in the movie. In the movie, there is another concept, that is, using human spirit to drive such a huge mecha. The nerve pressure that needs to be born will be very great. I don't know if this theory is correct because I haven't done experiments, but my guess is that it should be wrong. The number of neurons in the human brain is astonishingly large. Although this mecha has to drive many systems to run at the same time, any action can actually be converted into a corresponding electronic signal and then integrated into a relatively simple signal for humans to process. In addition, we also have artificial intelligence, which can be used as an intermediate to convert the driver's simple signals into complex instructions to drive the various parts of the mecha to move. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, Codename Xingqian. In this way, there is another advantage, that is, the laser weapons we are developing now, no matter how big, can be installed on the mecha immediately. The laser cannon that was launched at the beginning, which killed the Blackbird at an altitude of more than 20,000 meters, can be installed on the super large mecha with a modification. As for the internal hydraulic system, transmission system, single muscle engine, and huge gyroscope, they are actually not difficult. We can even add a super large particle thruster to it, and have the ability to fly. So, miniaturization is too difficult. Why don't we make a big one first, verify and accumulate related technologies, and then gradually miniaturize it, until it reaches the humanoid mecha you envision. I think this is more in line with the development process of science and technology. Just like mobile phones, it is also from big to small, step by step, isn't it? Zhou Yang fell into deep thought. In his heart, there was a kind of open-minded feeling like the clouds were cleared and the sun was shining. Yes, I always wanted to get it right in one step, and I did it with the technical information of the system, but the technical information provided by the system became more and more difficult, and the difficulty of getting it right in one step was also geometrically increased. Since that's the case, why not follow the development of science and technology, from simple to difficult, from large to small? The system gave 3 years for the second generation mecha. But now a year has passed, and Zhou Yang has only solved the controlled nuclear fusion and preliminarily completed the manufacture of the weapon system. There is no sign of the curvature engine and life support system. I can use a year to build a large mecha, using controlled nuclear fusion as power. This is also in line with my original idea. Design an intermediate modification as a technical verification and finally complete the second generation mecha. There is only 1 year left to manufacture the second generation mecha. It should be in time. And as Fuxi said, the relevant technologies for manufacturing large mechas have actually been basically broken through, and there are completely the conditions for manufacturing. At this moment, the voice of the system suddenly sounded in Zhou Yang's mind. Congratulations to the host for triggering a random task, manufacturing a large nuclear-powered mecha, and verifying the second generation mecha technology. Task reward, ecological base system technology. Zhou Yang was stunned. He actually triggered a random task. And what kind of technology is this reward? The ecological base system technology. Is it the ecological base like the 3 eternal giant ecosystem proposed by scientists before? Or, an ecological base built in the universe? The system did not give an explanation, and Zhou Yang could not speculate. But since the system has given a random task, Zhou Yang will do it no matter what. Coming back to his senses, Zhou Yang nodded and said, okay, let's do as you say, make a large mecha. Come, you assist me in the design, and we will come up with the design drawings first. The original plan was to go home and continue to accompany Chen Royan after watching the laser weapons, but now it is estimated that there is no time. Zhou Yang called Chen Royan and said that he might go back a little later. Chen Royan knew that Zhou Yang had a lot of things to do and was busy with important things, so he didn't say much, but just told Zhou Yang to take care of his body, not to stay up late, and to eat regularly. By the way, give the phone to Xiaoyu, I will talk to him. Chen Royan said at last. Zhou Yang was stunned and said hurriedly, that's not necessary. Chen Royan snorted and said, you are so busy that you don't know anything. I still need to find someone to keep an eye on you. Zhou Yang was speechless. In the following time, Zhou Yang devoted himself to the design of the large mecha. Codename Xingqian. Xingqian dances with Ganqi, but he is the god of war in mythology. Zhou Yang also plans to design a huge battle axe for this super large mecha, so he thought of such a name. Time flies, and half a month has passed. Under the holographic projection, there is a projection of a huge mecha. Height, 105 meters. This height is the highest height that Fuxi calculated with high-strength crystal steel as the main body, and can fully utilize the characteristics of high-strength crystal steel. If it is higher, the strength of high-strength crystal steel will not be enough, and the machine will be at risk of disintegration. If it is smaller, there is no need. After all, it has been built so big, so it can be as big as possible. When the time comes, it can be used as a weapon when you step on it. The main weapon is an oversized axe and a shield. In fact, Zhou Yang felt that there was no need to design a shield. Once this thing was made, would there be any rivals? Then there were the secondary weapons. Due to its huge size, the weapons were still easy to design, and it was not a problem to even stuff a few ballistic missiles in it. After weighing the pros and cons, Zhou Yang chose to hang all the secondary weapons externally, just like the Dragon Soul. The advantage of this is that the structure of the body itself is unified, and there is no need to change the internal transmission structure to reserve a weapon bay. The external weapons do not affect the use, and the choice is also large. As long as they are docked with the mounting points of the mecha itself, various weapons can be used. Laser cannons and so on. Zhou Yang also designed the thruster, but unlike the Dragon Soul, the flight ability depends entirely on the internal thruster, but designed an external thruster. Because Zhou Yang calculated that, if he wanted to design it as an internal thruster, it would take up too much space, and one was not enough, and multiple were needed to adjust the flight attitude. But it is much simpler to design it as an external plug-in. According to the order Zhou Yang gave to Yu Rongming and others before, based on controlled nuclear fusion, a super large thruster is designed to directly propel the aircraft carrier. An aircraft carrier weighs tens of thousands of tons, and a few thrusters can be used to propel it, not to mention this mecha that weighs thousands of tons. At that time, a large thruster will be mounted on the back, purely driven by nuclear energy, which will facilitate rapid arrival at the battlefield, across the sea, over the mountains, etc. As for the flight posture, vector propulsion can be used. In this way, the huge propulsion system can be mounted externally, and can be discarded aside during combat. However, Zhou Yang also designed some relatively small thrusters inside the mecha. The purpose is not to fly, but to increase athletic ability. There are also thrusters like the elbows, which can increase the power of punching after starting. Zhou Yang has not yet made a final decision on the control method, but plans to use human control and artificial intelligence assistance to conduct experiments. In fact, direct artificial intelligence control is also possible, so that even the space of the humanoid control cabin is saved. But Zhou Yang feels that sometimes people still need to take the lead. Although artificial intelligence has the ability to think, it is not absolutely omnipotent. The characteristics and qualities of human beings are also very important. For example, when encountering a strong enemy, artificial intelligence may think about the gains and losses and calculate the success rate. But humans don't. Some people become stronger when facing a strong enemy, face challenges head on, or fight to the death, fight to the end, and are loyal to the country, etc., which artificial intelligence cannot have. Chapter 218 Full Support. Taking a step back, Zhou Yang felt a surge of pride in his heart as he looked at the holographic projection in front of him. Zhou Yang discovered that humans seem to be born to like big things. Big things can give people a sense of power. If this thing is really built, the height of more than 30 floors will give people a sense of oppression. That is not ordinary. Sir, do you want me to send the design drawings to Director Lee? Fuchsie asked. Zhou Yang came back to his senses, shook his head, and said, no, you sort out the design drawings, and I will go to BJ in person. If you want to build such a large mecha, it is definitely not a small project. It is no exaggeration to say that looking around the world, only countries with complete industrial systems such as Z and M have the ability to manufacture it. Those with poor industrial systems can forget about it. The mecha is large, and the processing is difficult. Various 10,000-ton forging machines and super large gantry cranes are not available in most countries. The next day, Zhou Yang took a special plane and arrived in BJ. Mr. Zhao, why did you come in person? On the airport apron, Li Xianshu and others stood, waiting for Zhou Yang to get off the plane, and quickly greeted him. I have a plan and I want to talk to you about it, Zhou Yang said with a smile. Li Xianshu was shocked. What kind of plan would make Zhou Yang come here in person? The two got in the car, left the airport, and drove to Zhou Yang's manor in the western suburbs. Now this man basically belongs to Zhou Yang. Whenever he comes to BJ, he will live here. Zhou Yang looked at Li Xiaoyu, who quickly took out a file bag from his bag and handed it to him. Li Xiaoyu opened it and saw the title on the cover of the file, and his eyes widened. The manufacture of super large nuclear fusion powered mecha. He quickly turned it over and saw the second page, which was a picture, a front perspective view of a huge mecha. The scale and data were written next to it. 105 meters. Li Xiaoyu couldn't help but exclaimed, almost unable to believe his eyes. When he first saw the super large size, Li Xiaoyu thought that 10 meters was the limit. After all, the current Dragon Soul was only a little over 2 meters, but 105 meters was still beyond Li Xiaoyu's imagination. This is no longer a mecha, but a building. If this thing is built, it will scare the enemy to death, just by displaying it on the battlefield. Mr. Zhao, are you sure? 105 meters. This is too big. Li Xiaoyu exclaimed. Zhou Yang smiled and said, I encountered some difficulties in the development of the next generation of mecha. At this time, I suddenly thought, why not build a big one, to verify the relevant technology. As for why it needs to be 105 meters, since it is going to be big, then make it as big as possible. Li Xiaoyu nodded blankly and continued to flip down, his expression becoming more and more surprised. Li Xiaoyu thought Zhou Yang just had such an idea, but when he read on, he found that Zhou Yang had actually completed the design, and the key manufacturing technologies were all completed. In the end, even the cost was preliminarily calculated, and the estimated cost was 170 billion. This price is the price of several aircraft carriers. Mr. Zhao, are you here to ask the country for money this time? Li Xiaoyu said with a bit of a smile. Zhou Yang nodded and said, such a large mecha, the cost is so high, and to be honest, whether it can really be combat effective after it is built is also unknown. The super large mecha, although large and powerful, can crush a tank with one foot, and can knock down a building with one force, but this thing, after all, can only be scrapped by a nuclear bomb. And this thing is so big, it is like a lighthouse on the battlefield, and can be seen from 800 miles away, just like a moving target. Of course, crossing Cheyenne is not slow. After all, he has long legs, and if he runs, 100 meters in one step is like playing. But such a big body is destined to make him not as flexible as the Dragon Soul. The Dragon Soul can be as fast as lightning with the help of thrusters. And if crossing Cheyenne is as fast as lightning, it is just like an aircraft carrier running as fast as a fighter jet, which is not realistic at all. The wind resistance is too great. Running so fast, the huge resistance brought by the air can squeeze crossing Cheyenne into a meat pie. Zhou Yang could foresee that when crossing Cheyenne went to the battlefield, he would be bombarded by tanks dozens of kilometers away, and fighter jets would fly all over the sky, firing missiles hundreds of kilometers away. Zhou Yang had designed a thick armor for crossing Cheyenne, but it couldn't withstand such a bombardment. So Zhou Yang still had doubts about crossing Cheyenne's real combat power. After expressing his doubts, Zhou Yang finally said, in fact, the next generation of mecha in my mind is still like the Dragon Soul, small and powerful. Big, of course, but at the same time, it must have strong protection. If we develop an energy shield, then there is no problem with big. So if this thing, that is close to 200 billion is made into a pile of decorations, I can't bear this responsibility. I came to BJ just to ask for your opinions and see what the higher ups think. 170 billion. This is not just a string of numbers, this is real money, and it can build several aircraft carriers. The country is rich now, but nearly 200 billion is not a waste. Zhou Yang has been doing research, and the country has always supported him. He has unlimited research funds, but Zhou Yang never deliberately wastes money, never does meaningless research, and wastes the country's funds. Wouldn't it be better to use that little money to improve people's livelihood? Li Xiaoyu suddenly laughed. Mr. Zhao, you really think too much. You have made so many contributions to the country. It is no exaggeration to say that, let alone 200 billion, even if it is 2 trillion, as long as you nod, the country will be willing to spend it. This thing, let alone whether it is useful or not, even if it is really useless, you spent 200 billion to build a big toy, and the country is willing to do it, not to mention that you built this thing for the technical verification of the next generation of mecha. So from this perspective, it is worth it. Zhou Yang was a little moved, but still said, okay, you are a small director, don't talk big like this. Quickly hand the things over, let the higher ups organize people to demonstrate it, and then give me a reply. You know, if this thing is to be built, it is not a small project, and the resources mobilized are not ordinary. Li Xianshu smiled and said, don't look at me as just a small director, but the power is not small. Li Xianshu's status is not low. Okay, I'll hand in the information, and ask for the opinions of the higher ups. Li Xianshu sent Zhou Yang to the suburban manor, and then took Crossing Xian's design information, and left in a hurry. In the following time, Zhou Yang did not go anywhere, but waited patiently in the manor, and continued to improve Crossing Xian's design. The higher-ups did not let Zhou Yang wait any longer, and within 3 days, there was a reply. Approved. Full support. Chapter 219. Let me be selfish for once. Li Xianshu came over and asked where to build this big guy. Zhou Yang thought about it and said, let me be selfish for once, and put it in the Wanghu Village Research Institute. This way it is closer to home, and I can go home to see my wife. Chen Ruoyan has been pregnant for several months. Even if someone is taking care of her, Zhou Yang thinks it is better to accompany her. Li Xianshu also roughly guessed the reason. Chen Ruoyan has been pregnant for several months, and Zhou Yang is busy with research, and is not at home all day. With Zhou Yang's current status, even if he rests at home, no one will say anything, but Zhou Yang still decided to devote himself to research work without hesitation. Li Xianshu said nothing, stood up, and bowed deeply to Zhou Yang. The next day, Zhou Yang set off for home. However, he left home again after less than 2 days, and rushed to the research institute. Near the research institute, an engineering team has begun to level the land in full swing. Mr. Zhao. In the conference room, the heads of various parties present stood up and greeted Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang smiled and nodded to everyone, motioning everyone to sit down. You all know me, but I don't know you. Please introduce yourselves. Zhou Yang said. On the left, a middle-aged man said, Mr. Zhao, I'm Lin Hui from the Ordnance Equipment Group. This time, our ordnance equipment has mobilized 2,000 engineers. The Ordnance Equipment Group Corporation is a super-military enterprise comparable to the Ordnance Industry Group, that is, the North Industry. It is known as the South Industry, one in the south, and one in the north. Looking at the world, it is also the top military enterprise. Hello. Zhou Yang stood up and shook hands with Lin Hui. Lin Hui was flattered and stood up quickly, his expression excited. Next to Lin Hui, sat a middle-aged man Zhou Yang had met before, He Shengming, the deputy general manager of the North Industry. I know Mr. He, so there is no need to introduce him. Zhou Yang looked at a middle-aged man who was under He Shengming. The middle-aged man stood up quickly and said, hello, Mr. Zhao, I'm Zhao Lei from Zhao. Zhou Yang smiled and nodded. Zhao, the full name of which is Jianatan Construction Group, is a super-large state-owned enterprise. Its subsidiary Zhenhe Heavy Industries is the largest gantry crane manufacturer in China. The 20,000-ton gantry crane they developed is the world's first. This time, the assembly of the mecha must be done with a large gantry crane. On the right, a colonel sat and stood up to salute Zhou Yang. His name is Han Chaoshan, and he is the person in charge, sent by the military's Logistics General Assembly Department. This time, the military is still responsible for the infrastructure construction, and the quality and quantity are absolutely guaranteed. Zhou Yang shook hands with him, and looked at a middle-aged man with grey hair behind Han Chaoshan. Machinery Industry Group, Wrongfully. Zhou Yang nodded. This machinery industry group has heavy industry groups under its jurisdiction, including 1st Tractor, 2nd Heavy, and 2nd China Machinery Institute, etc., and has many mechanical processing and manufacturing products. For example, the world's largest 80,000-ton forging press. Many of the parts on Xingshan this time will inevitably use their products. In addition, there are also some people from the Research Institute, such as Yi Rongming, Zhu Chen, etc. There are also the person in charge of the high-strength crystal steel plant, Zhou Yang's brother-in-law, Zhangbo, who is responsible for the transmission system, and so on. At the same time, Heezy, who also came. This time, all the funds will be accounted for by Matrix Energy, and the accounting and auditing work will be entirely handled by Matrix Energy. Zhou Yang stood up, motioned Li Ziyu to turn off the lights, and then said, "There is no need for me to repeat the confidentiality regulations, so let's get straight to the point. Let's call everyone together and see what we are going to build." Everyone present instantly became excited. Which of these group companies is not directly under the state, with dozens of companies of various types under its jurisdiction? With so many companies united, building an aircraft carrier is just like this. Zhou Yang waved his hand, and a ray of light shone from the top, and the holographic projection projected a person-high design drawing of Xingshan. "This is what we want to build, a super large nuclear fusion powered mecha." Seeing the drawings of Xingshan, everyone present gasped. Super large and nuclear fusion powered. And if everyone is not mistaken, the height of this mecha is 105 meters, 105 meters, more than 30 stories high, and a mecha. Everyone gasped. "This is not a mecha, it's Gundam, it's Ultraman. What's wrong? You look shocked," Zhou Yang said with a smile. Everyone looked at each other. He Shengming whispered, "Mr. Zhou, is this thing really 105 meters long?" Zhou Yang nodded and said, "Yes, I originally wanted to build a bigger one, but the conditions don't allow it." Everyone was stunned. What did they say? Does the condition allow it now? But this is too big, and how much technology is needed in it? Lin Hui said, "This is not just a model, but a mecha that can run, move, and fight." Everyone can't imagine how high the technical content of this thing is. Zhou Yang said, "It looks difficult, but in fact, we have already broken through 99% of the key technologies." All broken through? Everyone was a little dumbfounded, with surprise on their faces. When did the technological level of country Z become able to build things of this level? Zhou Yang said, "In terms of power, we have completed nuclear fusion, and the relevant technology is mature. In terms of materials, high-strength crystal steel has already been put into production, with an annual output of tens of millions of tons. In terms of weapons, we have also made breakthroughs in laser weapons. In terms of thrusters, it has also been completed long ago. As for the internal control system and chips, we also have virtual reality access technology, artificial intelligence, and biomimetic cell chips. The transmission system and hydraulic system have all made breakthroughs in the first generation of mecha. So you tell me, what technology has not been broken through that prevents us from building such a big guy?" Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. When Zhou Yang said this, they suddenly realized that, just as Zhou Yang said, the relevant technology had already been broken through. And what's more terrifying, is that these technologies are all closely related to Zhou Yang, and were developed by Zhou Yang himself. Everyone looked at Zhou Yang, and their hearts were full of shock. It's no wonder that the country values Zhou Yang so much, and promised him the status of a national master. It can be said that Zhou Yang alone led the scientific and technological development of country Z. "Mr. Zhou, we are all your soldiers this time. Just give the orders. We will listen to you on how to build, and how to make it." Han Shaoshan still acted like a soldier and said directly. Others nodded one after another, and they also understood why Zhou Yang called so many group companies together. He must really do something big. Zhou Yang said, "This mecha is codenamed Xingshan. Although the relevant technology has been broken through, the difficulty of manufacturing will still exceed our imagination. Therefore, this time's construction requires you to cooperate closely with each other and work together as a whole." Everyone nodded hurriedly. This time they came here with a political mission, and they must not retreat, and must complete it. Well, the first question we have to consider is whether to build it standing up or lying down. Chapter 220 Standing or Lying Down. Should it be built standing up or lying down? This is the first key question. Crossing Cheyenne is too big, and the difficulty of assembly is extremely high. Zhou Yang looked at everyone and said, "Tell me what you think." Everyone went straight into work mode and thought seriously. Zhao Lei from Zhaojian was the first to speak. "Mr. Zhao, I think we should build it while lying down. Just like building a large ship, modular manufacturing, and finally lifting it uniformly. This way the assembly difficulty will be simpler. He Shengming shook his head and said, I think that, if we build it while lying down, the assembly difficulty will be greater. Mechas are not quite the same as ships. The Dragon Soul was assembled by our North Industries, and the internal structure is extremely complex. I understand what you mean. You want to build the shell first, assemble the shell, and then install the wiring and connection systems inside. But it doesn't work for mechas. The outer shell of the mecha is movable, which is equivalent to a cover. You need to build the skeleton first, and then rely on the skeleton to assemble the various system components one by one. In this case, we can only build it while standing up. Several Dragon Souls were assembled later, all of which were undertaken by North Industries, so He Shengming knew more about the internal structure of the mecha. Wang Huji from the machinery industry group held his chin and said, if we build it standing up, we have to build a scaffolding more than 100 meters high. This is not easy. There is also a gantry crane. Each component must be hoisted up by a gantry crane. How to install the gantry crane, and how to support the skeleton? Ordinary means may not be able to support it. We must surround the mecha and cast several concrete piles more than 100 meters high to support and fix the mecha. Zhou Yang nodded with satisfaction. These people in front of him are all practical people. They have come through wind and rain. They are old people with rich work experience. They have also experienced many large-scale projects, and are familiar with the ins and outs of it. Zhou Yang is a researcher, and he is really not as good as them in many things, so he has to listen to their opinions and finally come up with a manufacturing plan. This meeting lasted a whole week. After repeated discussions, demonstrations, and calculations, it was finally decided to build it standing up. At the same time, the entire project was divided into 4 major departments. Han Chaoshan is in charge of the peripheral infrastructure department, who is responsible for the factory building for the mecha and the various infrastructures for fixing the mecha. The parts manufacturing department is in charge of He Shengming of the Northern Industry, who is responsible for the forging and production of parts. At the same time, the person in charge of the machinery industry group and the high-strength crystal steel plant are all under this department, and are arranged in a unified manner. Then there is the General Assembly Department, which is in charge of Lin Hui of the Ordnance Manufacturing Group, and assisted by Zhao Lei of Zhaojian, who is responsible for the assembly of Xingshan. Finally, there is the Logistics and Technical Department, which is in charge of He Xiu, who has only one responsibility, which is to pay. As for the technical aspects, it is the responsibility of the institute, and Zhou Yang is naturally the general person in charge, and determines the progress. The construction plan is determined and implemented directly according to the plan. First, a huge assembly workshop must be built. At the beginning, Zhou Yang's idea was to build it directly on the ground, build a large factory building, and cover the more than 100 meters Xingshan, which is also convenient for confidentiality. The construction of a 100-meter high factory building is too difficult, so Han Chaoshan proposed a compromise solution, 50 meters above the ground and 50 meters underground, so that only a 50-meter high factory building needs to be built to cover the mecha. The ground has been leveled. There was no opening ceremony. At the command, more than 100 excavators drove into the construction site, working into shifts, with people resting, but the machines not resting, digging 24 hours a day. They had to dig a huge pit of 10,000 square meters and 50 meters deep, a total of 500,000 cubic meters. The work started at 6 in the morning. When Zhou Yang got up the next day, he saw that the pit had been dug. The foundation piling project was already underway. In the distance, a steady stream of mixer trucks drove in, and had begun pouring the foundation piles. This progress was simply a sea-to-earth transformation, so fast that it was unbelievable. Country M, CIA headquarters. There is a special intelligence team that observes every move of the Wanghu village base through reconnaissance satellites. Intelligence departments all over the world know that this is Zhou Yang's research institute. But the guards here are too strict, and intelligence departments of various countries can only look at it. It is impossible to get close. At 8 in the morning, the intelligence team began to check the satellite photos taken last night. It is night in country M, but it is daytime in country Z, and the satellite pictures are all taken during the day. Hey, how come there is an extra hole here? When the satellite image was opened, the intelligence team was stunned. A large pit appeared clearly near the institute, and it was not ordinarily large. It was clearly visible on the satellite image. And surrounding the pit, there were construction machinery everywhere. The entire intelligence team looked at each other, and their brains were like electrified, knowing that something big had happened. Soon, CIA Director Ferguson appeared in the intelligence team and saw the latest satellite image. By zooming in, some details of the pit can be seen. This is a pit of 10,000 square meters. It seems that a large facility is being built, but I don't know what the specific facility is. Ferguson frowned, thought for a while and asked, is there a satellite passing over the institute now? An intelligence officer checked and said, in half an hour, a reconnaissance satellite will pass over the institute with infrared thermal imaging function. Okay, take the latest photos and let me see. Ferguson immediately ordered, and said at the same time, this looks like a huge project. Such a project will inevitably use a lot of resources. Next, you must do everything you can to find me all the information about this project. Half an hour later, the latest satellite image was transmitted. Under the thermal imaging, you can see densely packed figures and the outlines of large machinery. 24 hours a day, what kind of project is this? Ferguson said with a solemn expression. Keep an eye on this place for 24 hours. Report any intelligence to me as soon as possible. I will go to see the president now. The same scene happened not only in country M, but also in several powerful countries. They have never stopped their reconnaissance of the institute. They can't hide any movement. Zhou Yang actually knew about this kind of all-weather reconnaissance, but he didn't care too much. Xingshan is so big that it can't be hidden after it is built. It's better to be open and above board. By the time other countries figure out what Zhou Yang is doing, I'm afraid Xingshan has already been built. Besides, with the current strength of country Z, even if it is really built, what can other countries do? If you oppose it, they will ignore you. If you want to wrestle, if you don't accept it, then fight and teach you how to be a man. The country is now confident and can deal with all challenges. Chapter 221 Selecting a driver. All projects were carried out simultaneously. On the construction side, the site looked different every day. In 10 days, the factory building was almost built. Two 10,000-ton super-large gantry cranes from Zhenhe Heavy Industries were also transported here for installation. At the same time, some core parts were also produced. Each department and each company had their own tasks assigned to them. Just like an assembly line, many companies cooperated at the same time, each responsible for a component, and finally assembled together. Everything was carried out in an orderly manner. In addition to keeping an eye on the progress, Zhou Yang was also preparing for another thing. That was to select the driver of Xingshan. Zhou Yang felt that the two-person consciousness sharing method in the movie was not reliable. It was just an interpretation of film art. There could only be one driver. The key was whether controlling such a huge mecha would cause great mental pressure on the driver. Fuxi guessed it would, but no one knew without experimenting. Li Xiaoyu knocked on the door and said, Mr. Zhao, everyone is here. Oh, I'll go right away. Zhou Yang got up and went to a laboratory. In the laboratory, a row of soldiers stood straight, a total of 18 people. Each of them held their heads high and looked murderous. The military ranks were also different. The high-ranking ones had reached the level of lieutenant colonel, and the low-ranking ones were just ordinary non-commissioned officers. Hello, I guess you all know me. Zhou Yang said with a smile. The 18 people nodded one after another. There are really not many people in the country who don't know Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang took the information handed over by Li Xiaoyu and read it one by one. These materials recorded the resumes of these 18 people in detail. 18 people, all of them are from combat units and have experienced real combat. They are special forces with top military qualities. Your name is Zheng Mink, right? Zhou Yang looked at a dark-skinned captain and asked. The captain nodded slightly. Zhou Yang said, I saw in the information that you participated in a battle on the southwest border. Did you fight against drug dealers? Zheng Mink nodded again. Then have you killed anyone? Zhou Yang asked. Zheng Mink's eyes trembled slightly, and then he answered without hesitation, I have killed someone. Can you tell me what was your most difficult combat experience? Zhou Yang asked again. Zheng Ming glanced at Zhou Yang, feeling a little confused. This time, they received an order from their superiors to come and participate in a test project, and Zhou Yang was in charge of it personally, but the superiors did not say what it was specifically, and Zheng Ming felt that even the superiors might not know. Now that he was here, Zheng Ming did not expect Zhou Yang to ask these questions right away. Whether he had killed anyone or not, was it just out of curiosity? After thinking for a while, Zheng Ming answered, "The most difficult battle was when my comrades and I cooperated with local border guards to ambush a group of drug dealers. However, due to intelligence errors, we originally thought that we were facing no more than 20 drug dealers, but when we actually met the drug dealers, the number of drug dealers was as high as 50. At that time, my comrade stepped on a landmine and was injured. 2 border guards escorted my comrade back to the camp. I and 6 border guards were left to face 50 drug dealers. In the end, we chose to fight. 7 to 50. The number disparity was extremely large, and it is conceivable how critical the situation was at that time. But when Zheng Ming talked about it, he was downplaying it, as if he was telling a pleasant story, and even his tone did not fluctuate at all. After the battle broke out, 6 border guards were injured one after another, but the drug dealers were also dispersed. There were more than 30 people left, escorting their drug dealer leader to escape. I tracked them in the rainforest for nearly 50 kilometers alone, fighting for 3 days, and finally successfully killed the drug dealer leader." Zhou Yang's expression also became serious. A man, facing more than 30 people, chasing for 50 kilometers, and fighting in the rainforest for more than 3 days, probably didn't have much supplies. If such a soldier can't be called a soldier king, then what is a soldier king? Such a fighting will is like steel. Unlike those American soldiers, they call for support when they encounter a little difficulty. I see that in the resumes of several of you. You have fought against drug dealers in the southwest border. Are the drug dealers there so rampant? Zhou Yang asked. Zheng Ming said, "It's not rampant, but crazy. People die for money. These drug dealers are so vicious and can do anything for money. It can be said that they are no longer human." Zhou Yang frowned. Of course, he had heard of the triangle area in the southwest border, but he didn't expect the drug dealers to be so cruel and rampant. ZU, go back and ask the intelligence department for some information. I want to see it. Zhou Yang ordered, closed the information, and said, "You are all great. You are the most loyal soldiers of the country. This time, we invite you here to conduct an experiment. The experiment is somewhat dangerous. If you have any concerns, you can give up now." No one spoke, and their eyes were extremely firm. Zhou Yang smiled and said, "I'm not kidding you. Giving up is not shameful. You are all heroes of the country. To be honest, I'm now considering whether to let you participate in this experiment. So if you want to give up, tell me now." Still no one spoke. After a while, Zheng Ming smiled and said, "Mr. Zhao, don't ask anymore. We are not heroes. You are the real hero. I don't know what experiment you are going to do this time, but I know it must be an important experiment that is useful to the country. As long as it is useful to the country, even if you take our lives, we will not frown." Zhou Yang was somewhat moved, nodded, and said, "Okay, let's start." At that moment, a researcher came forward and put on various instruments for everyone. These instruments are used to detect your physical condition. Then lie down and put on virtual reality helmets. You should be familiar with this thing, Zhou Yang said. On the side, there were 18 virtual warehouses. I know, our troops often organize exercises in it, and the fighting is so tragic, Zheng Ming said with a smile. The advantages of virtual reality are unquestionable. It has long been used by the military to hold exercises and so on. Special forces like Zheng Ming will also simulate various combat scenes in it. After the 18 people lay down, Zhou Yang also put on a virtual helmet. Then he turned on the virtual helmet. In front of him, Zhou Yang entered a bright space. In front of him, Zheng Ming and the other 18 people were all there. When they saw Zhou Yang, they quickly stood in the previous queue without giving orders. Zhou Yang waved his hand, and a mecha appeared in front of him. It was crossing Cheyenne. With a height of 105 meters and a huge body, Zheng Ming and others felt a sense of oppression that made their scalps numb. Is this a mecha? What a big mecha! Everyone's breathing became rapid. Standing in front of the 105-meter tall crossing Shan, humans are too small. Chapter 222, a reward of 10 million. Of course, Zheng and others knew about Mechas. They also knew that the military had secretly selected some people as mecha pilots. At that time, who wouldn't envy them? Who wouldn't want to be a mecha pilot? But the number of mechas is limited, and not everyone has the opportunity. Now, Zhou Yang wants to do an experiment, and there is such a huge mecha in front of him. Everyone has the same idea in their minds. Is Zhou Yang going to select mecha pilots? In an instant, the eyes of the 18 people became hot. Zhou Yang said, "This mecha, codenamed Xingshan, is very complicated to operate. In the next period of time, you must learn and master how to operate it in the virtual space." As he said, another 17 mechas appeared. Zhou Yang took everyone to fly up and came to the hatch above Xingshan's head. Entering from the hatch, there was a huge cockpit inside. The structure is similar to the Pacific Rim mecha. The cockpit is also placed on the head, and the position of the eyes is a translucent window, so you can see the situation outside. However, at such a high altitude, the field of vision is limited. It mainly relies on the radars and panoramic cameras that are densely covered on the whole body of the mecha to form a three-dimensional image, which is then projected into the cockpit, so that the driver can directly see the surrounding situation 360 degrees forward and backward. Let's get started. Your first task is to make the mecha move, Zhou Yang said with a smile. Unlike the Dragon Soul is dominated by the driver. The driver makes the action, and the artificial intelligence assists the mecha, and then drives the various systems of the mecha to make the action. But Xingshan is different. Xingshan is too big. Any simple action may drive thousands of parts to move together, not to mention complex actions. In the design drawing, Xingshan has a total of 86,782 parts. Once these parts move, they will generate a signal data, and finally converge to become a huge data stream. If it is all handled by artificial intelligence, there should be no problem. But Zhou Yang wants the driver to control Xingshan with artificial intelligence assistance, then through the way of brainwave access to the data center. Whether the human brain can withstand such a large amount of data is an unknown. For a full hour, none of the 18 mechas could move. Zheng was sweating profusely. He found that this thing was much more difficult than he thought. It was too brain intensive. Finally, Zheng sent a signal to take a step, but his knees moved, but his feet did not. His body staggered, and the gyroscope went out of control. At this time, the human body will automatically correct itself and adjust the center of gravity instinctively. But when it came to Xingshan, it was too difficult. In order to adjust the center of gravity of this 1,000-ton giant, too many parts needed to be mobilized to move together. With a bang, the mecha controlled by Zheng fell directly to the ground. Zheng's face turned slightly red, and what made him even more ashamed was that he couldn't even stand up. Zhou Yang shook his head slightly. The performance of everyone was really lame. Fuxi appeared beside Zhou Yang and said, "Sir, why don't we let artificial intelligence do the operation? I understand what you are worried about. There are some characteristics of humans that artificial intelligence can never perfectly imitate. So I think artificial intelligence can be used as the main tool, and the driver can control it remotely." Zhou Yang said, "This is just the beginning. We haven't done anything yet, so don't think about failure. In this way, you can get me a mecha, and I will try it." Fuxi immediately said, "Forget it. You are too important. This experiment is dangerous. Let's not try it. Their brain fluctuation data is extremely large now. The huge amount of data still brings them great pressure." Zhou Yang frowned. It seems that Fuchs's guess is correct. Faced with a huge amount of data, the human brain really can't bear the pressure. You monitor their physical condition at any time. Once they are tired, stop immediately and go offline to rest. Zhou Yang ordered, and left the virtual space. The experiment lasted for 7 days. Zheng and others showed obvious polarization. 3 people could barely control Xingshan's actions after a few days of adaptation. The remaining 15 people made slow progress. Among them, 4 people's mechas are still motionless. Even if they can move, their movements are extremely stiff, far from the point where they can fight as Zhou Yang wanted. After carefully checking the data collected from the 7-day experiment, Zhou Yang first determined one thing, that is, big data will definitely have an impact on the human brain. When a person walks normally, these may be muscle memory instinctive movements, and the pressure on the brain is very small. But controlling a mecha is different. The huge amount of data, coupled with complex movements, puts a lot of pressure on the brain. According to the feedback data, the brain can't bear it for up to an hour. It's like brushing questions for a day and a night, and the brain is overdrawn. At the same time, Zhou Yang also determined one thing. Whether Xingqian can be controlled in this way has a certain relationship with steel-like willpower, but the most influential factor is intelligence. Smart people, or people with strong athletic ability, progress faster. In this world, there are talents. There is a woman in RB who has a super learning talent. Any sport, such as playing yo-yo, flying cards, throwing knives, etc., may take years of training for others to do, but she can learn it in 1 or 2 hours, and do it very skillfully. This is talent. Zhou Yang felt that he knew what kind of person he should look for. Virtual reality space. After more than half a year of construction, the virtual reality space has become extremely prosperous, just like a future science fiction world. On this day, everyone who entered the virtual space received a system prompt. A cash reward of 10 million yuan is offered to find the most hardcore mecha pilot. This message attracted an astonishing amount of attention. Which company is this? It's too rich to buy this recommendation position. How much does it cost? The recommendation position prompted by the system is equivalent to a questions pop-up window, which can instantly push information to all hundreds of millions of people who enter the virtual space. The advertising effect can be imagined, but at the same time, the price is ridiculously expensive. It takes 100 million yuan to push for 1 hour. And you may not be able to buy it, even if you want to, because there are too many people promoting it, especially those big companies. In order to attract traffic and attract people, they spend money decisively. Companies like Tencent, whenever they release new games, they will directly buy them for hours and hours. Many people clicked in, mainly because the 10 million cash reward was a bit tempting. After entering, there is a detailed introduction. In short, it is a game that simulates driving a mecha. If you pass the level, the fastest person will be selected and rewarded with 10 million cash. The whole activity lasts for 7 days. Chapter 223, Powerful Talent. Which company's game is this? A mecha game will definitely attract attention. Because of the Dragon Soul, mecha games have always been very popular. Not long ago, Tencent spent a lot of money to buy the Rebirth Entertainment studio that produced Titanfall, and then transplanted Titanfall into the virtual reality space, triggering a wave of mecha battles. It doesn't say what the development company is. It's so mysterious. Why do you care if it's mysterious or not? The main thing is the bonus. 10 million cash. Isn't it just playing games? I'm an expert. There is no need to pay any fees for the test. It's free to test. After the pop-up window popped up, many people rushed into the test game of this mecha driver. And not only ordinary players, but also some professional game media and major game companies have also paid attention to this mecha driver game. After receiving the push, Zhou Yang, the game review editor of Gammaster, also clicked to enter the game. His eyes went dark, and Zhou Yang came to a bright space. In the center of the space, stood an extremely huge mecha. Wow, what a huge mecha. Zhou Yang was shocked. He stood under the mecha, looking as small as an ant. Is it starting now? But is this a game? The surrounding environment is too rough. Are you reluctant to spend money on data? Zhou Yang muttered. Whether a game in a virtual space is good or not, and whether the graphics are realistic or not, has little to do with technology. Everyone uses the same development program. The main thing is the amount of data. If the graphics are beautiful, there will be more data. When it comes time to transplant it into the virtual space, it will cost more. Therefore, only large game companies have the funds to make a game masterpiece with excellent graphics. But this mecha is made extremely realistic, and it cost a lot of money. If Zhou Yang hadn't seen how realistic the mecha was, he would have wanted to quit directly. Zhou Yang didn't look at it much. There are larger mechas in the game, and this one in front of him is just so-so. Just as he was thinking about how to start, a figure appeared in front of Zhou Yang. It was an officer in military uniform. He said, "Rookie, get on the mech and start your training. When you complete all the training levels, you can enter the real battlefield and complete your mission. Simple and direct. I like it." Zhou Yang nodded and chose to enter the mech directly. The body rose and entered the mech from the top of the mech. But the following operation method made Zhou Yang vomit blood. In Zhou Yang's mind, it should be a foolproof operation of pressing W to move forward and the left mouse button to attack. But when he really got started, he realized that if he wanted to leave, he was dreaming. He had to start the mech first. And to start the mech, there are as many as 17 steps, and all the systems of the body must be powered on and started one by one. Is it intentional? Zhou Yang complained. This is simply artificially increasing the difficulty. Wouldn't it be better to just start working? But after Zhou Yang started the mech according to the instructions, he found that it was not easy to move. The simplest leg lifting action needed to be subdivided into which leg muscle modules to use. The complexity was simply outrageous. After that, Zhou Yang struggled for more than half an hour and gave up. After exiting the game, Zhou Yang immediately opened the editor and wrote an article after a moment of contemplation. It's just a way to attract attention. The so-called hardcore game is just difficult for the sake of difficulty. In the article, this mecha driver game was criticized as worthless. And it was not just Zhou Yang who expressed such emotion, but all the people who entered the test. The difficulty is too high. What the hell is this game? Which company developed it? It must be deliberately disgusting. That's right, the operation is too difficult. I struggled for a long time and couldn't even start the mecha. I'm a little better than you. I can move, but I fall down when I walk and can't even get up. This is the routine. Make the game so difficult to hype it up. Forget it. I won't play it anymore. I don't think anyone can get the 10 million reward. After playing, many people believe that it is almost impossible to pass the level. But what no one expected was that the advertisement of this game was always on the headline of the system recommendation position, and it stayed there for a whole day. This position costs 100 million yuan in advertising fees per hour and 2.4 billion yuan per day. And the next day, this advertisement was still hung in the same position. At this time, some people came to their senses and felt that this game was unusual. A game that can spend billions of advertising fees to promote is definitely not an ordinary game. At this time, someone actually posted a video of controlling a mecha and training in the training level on the game forum. Everyone realized that it was not that this game was too difficult, but that they were just too bad. What's even more exaggerated is that on the second day, a huge electronic billboard appeared in the 18 main cities of the virtual space, just like the one in the center of an NBA arena. You can see this billboard anywhere in the city. The billboard marked the fastest progress of this mecha driver. The first place was a guy with the ID called Tomato, who had passed the 2-2 level of the training level, and the 10th place displayed at the end also passed levels 1 to 8. At this time, more people felt that this game was different. This huge billboard in the center of the main city was not something that could be made with money. It was as if this game company was the boss of the virtual space. In the laboratory, Zhou Yang decided to give up. Although Zheng Ming and others had strong wills and unyielding fighting spirits, talent was talent. Some things really could not be overcome by hard work. How is the virtual space? Zhou Yang asked after calling Fuxi. Fuxi said in surprise, the fastest person has entered the first level of the battle level. What? Zhou Yang was shocked. It seems that this game has only been released for 4 days. Someone actually passed the training level and entered the battle level. This is too exaggerated. There are masters among the people, but not so many masters. Is there a battle video? Show me. Fuxi nodded and called up the video. The first level of the battle level is to face an equally huge mecha. 2 mechas fight on the plane. If they defeat each other, they will be considered to have passed the level. Zhou Yang could tell at a glance that the crossing Shan controlled by the player was very flexible and could beat Zheng Ming and the others by a huge margin. When facing his opponent, the player chose to roam, constantly rolling to distance himself, cutting behind his opponent, and turning around to attack with a giant axe. In just a few minutes, the player had chopped his opponent to the ground. This video was a video of the game being played through. Zhou Yang believed that this person must have tried many times before finding this way to win. What's his name? Zhou Yang immediately became interested. Even if he only showed this level of flexibility in the first level, it was completely enough. Fuchsie directly retrieved the real identity information of the player named Tomato. The person who appeared in front of Zhou Yang was actually an ordinary looking girl. A woman. Zhou Yang was stunned. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224. I'm here to find someone. Zhou Yang continued to read. He's 19 years old, dropped out of junior high school, parents are still alive. Other than that, there is no more information. Talk to the National Security Bureau, let them check the girl's information, notify me after they find out, and then we will go to meet her. Zhou Yang said. This girl named Heezin is really talented. City. Quanfeng Culture Media Co Limited. It's time. Get ready to go on air. Lily, hurry up and touch up your Mac-up. 3 minutes. 3 minutes before the show starts. I will go over the script with you now. The company's star anchor, Tang Lily, was preparing to go on air. Today you have to dance, and when you are dancing, your suspenders will accidentally fall off, and then make a panic expression. Understand? When the time comes, you must cover up the parts you should cover up. Be careful not to be blocked by the administrator if you expose a little. The director repeatedly explained, while carefully tying the knot of Lily's suspenders to ensure that they would fall off with a slight touch. Tang Lily has a standard internet celebrity face. She nodded to indicate that she had taken note of it, and then said, by the way, the substitute you found has such strong skills that I can't react to some of her operations. Can't you ask her to slow down a little? The director said helplessly, Auntie, you have to understand that skills are also important, okay? Those otakus not only like to look at beautiful women, they also like those with good skills. Besides, there are so many beautiful women nowadays. The reason you can stand out from so many beautiful anchors is because of your skills. The image we have created for you is also that of a beautiful technical anchor, okay? So when you go back, give me some time to practice your skills, okay? Tang Lily snorted and muttered, bullshit, who cares about skills these days? Everyone cares about the face, okay? At this moment, a man rushed in and said hurriedly, Mr. Hu, Zio he is not here. I called her, but she didn't answer. The show is about to start. What should I do? What? Where is her? Where did she go? Find her for me quickly. The director was furious when he heard it. This Zio he was a substitute for Tang Lily. She had great skills, but she was a little ugly, otherwise the company would have trained her directly. Then let's do this. The show will start soon. Chat with the audience first. It's better to delay it as long as possible. The director gritted his teeth. Tang Lily snorted coldly, looking unhappy. Finally, 5 minutes after the show started, a girl in plain clothes arrived breathlessly. Heezin, where have you been? Don't you know that the show is going to start today? If you do this again, I will deduct your salary. The director scolded. Heezin was sweating and hurriedly said, Boss Hu, don't be angry. I went to the bank to remit money to my family, but there were too many people in the bank. I waited for a long time. Please don't deduct my money. On the other side, Tang Lily also left the camera on the pretext of going to the bathroom. Her nails almost poked Heezin's eyes and she cursed, you little bastard. Remember who introduced you to the company in the first place? You can get 10,000 yuan a month now, all because of me, understand? If you do this again in the future, I will deal with you later. Sister Lily, I'm sorry, I won't dare to do it again next time. Heezin begged hurriedly. Tang Lily snorted coldly, then gave up and shouted, hurry up and get back online. Heezin kept bowing and apologizing, and hurried to the next room, logged into the game, and started playing for others. At the same time, a large number of police cars arrived downstairs of the office and quickly began to guard the perimeter. Passers-by were all stopped, and the office building with people coming and going was also restricted from traveling. "Hey, what are you doing? I need to go out. My client is coming soon. Why are you blocking the door?" Someone immediately complained in dissatisfaction. But it was useless. The cordon was pulled up and no one was allowed to enter or leave. At this time, a convoy slowly drove over from a distance and slowly stopped in front of the office building. Seeing this domineering red flag convoy, many people were stunned. Ordinary people would never have such a scene when traveling. Then, from the cars in front and behind, a dozen people in black suits came down with cold expressions and bulging waists, and quickly dispersed. The scene is safe. VIP can get off. After 5 minutes of cordoning off the scene, the car in the middle opened the door and a young man got off. He was dressed simply, but everyone who saw the young man exclaimed, "It's Zhou Yang. Oh my god, it's really Mr. Zhou. How come he's here? Oh my god, this is the first time I've seen Zhou Yang so close." You're talking as if it's not the first time for everyone. What kind of person is he? How can ordinary people see him? But he's much more handsome than on TV. This aura, this is really the aura of a big boss. The onlookers who originally had some complaints now all stopped talking. With Zhou Yang's identity, it's normal to put up a big formation for safety. And everyone was extremely curious about why Zhou Yang came here. Zhou Yang walked into the office building surrounded by the special agents. "Hello." Zhou Yang smiled and nodded to the people around him, waved his hand, and followed the special agent to the elevator. All the way to the 9th floor. The front desk of Quanfeng Culture Media Company has been stunned by the special agents and police at the door, standing behind the front desk, and dare not move. The company's boss also came after hearing the news, and was so scared by the scene, that he didn't even have the courage to ask. At this time, Zhou Yang appeared. "Hello, don't be nervous, I'm just here to find someone," Zhou Yang said with a smile. But some people at the scene couldn't laugh. Is it necessary to make such a big scene to find someone? It would scare people to death. "Mr. Zhou, who are you looking for?" the boss asked nervously. "A girl named Hezin." Everyone was stunned. Of course they knew who Hezin was. She was just an ordinary girl who was a little good at playing games. And what was Zhou Yang's identity? And he actually came to find Hezin in person. Or, Hezin actually knew Zhou Yang. For a moment, everyone's brain was blank, and some of them didn't react. At this time, Tang Lily in the crowd suddenly raised her hand and said, "Mr. Zhou, I know where she is. I'll take you there." "Okay." Zhou Yang looked at Tang Lily, smiled politely and nodded. But Tang Lily was excited. Zhou Yang actually smiled at her. Did he like her? Tang Lily was extremely confident about her appearance. While squeezing out of the crowd, she secretly gave Zhou Yang a shy expression. "Where is that person?" Zhou Yang asked. Tang Lily came back to her senses and pointed inside, saying, "Inside, room 7. Zhou Yang nodded and walked past Tang Lily, as if he had seen nothing. "Mr. Zhou, can I take a photo with you?" Tang Lily shouted hurriedly. But just as she finished shouting, a special agent's arm had already stretched out and blocked Tang Lily to the ground. "What are you doing?" Tang Lily shouted. But the special agent didn't even look at him. Zhou Yang also went straight to the door of room 7 and pushed the door. It was not locked, so the door opened. This was a small room of only 5 or 6 square meters. There was a single bed and a computer desk in the room. At this time, a girl was wearing headphones and was still playing games, unaware of what was happening outside. Chapter 225 Give you a chance. Zhou Yang walked into the room, but Hezin was still not startled, and his attention was all on the game. He was playing League of Legends. He was playing G, who was already super god at this time. It can be seen that Hezin was very good, and he was bullying the opponent just like bullying a weak player. At the door, a group of special agents stood like stone statues, not saying a word. The rest of the company was too scared to get close. Why did Zhou Yang look for Zhou? Could it be that they know each other? It shouldn't be. This is Zhou Yang. What kind of identity is he? How can he be related to Zhou? If there is no relationship, why would Zhou Yang come here in person? Then if Zhou really knows Zhou Yang, it's over. I bullied Zhou before. Some people who bullied Hezin all changed their faces. Especially Tang Lily, her face was pale. Inside the room, He led his teammates to push down the opponent's base in one wave and one. Stretching lazily, he turned his head and suddenly found that there was someone standing behind him. He was instantly shocked. "You play well," Zhou Yang said with a smile. He looked at Zhou Yang in doubt and saw the black suits standing like a wall at the door. He suddenly remembered something and exclaimed, "I've seen you on TV. You are Zhou something." Zhou Yang stretched out his hand and said, "Zhou Yang, hello." Nice to meet you." "Yes, it's Zhou Yang." He reacted and saw the hand stretched out in front of him. He shook hands with Zhou Yang and suddenly became uneasy. "Zhou Yang, what kind of identity is that? Why did he appear in front of him? Is there anything you need, Mr. Zhou?" He asked cautiously. Zhou Yang nodded and looked around. There were luggage and wash basins in the corner. It can be seen that he should live here. "I came here specifically to find you." Zhou Yang sat down on the bed. "Looking for me? Specially?" He couldn't help but widen his eyes. It seemed that he didn't know Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang said, "There is a game in the virtual space, Mech Pilot. You have cleared it, right?" "Mech Pilot?" He was stunned, then immediately reacted and hurriedly said, "That game. Could it be you?" "Yes, I asked someone to make this game." Zhou Yang nodded. He was stunned. 2 days ago, he also noticed this game. For the cash reward of 10 million, he used the company's virtual helmet and secretly played it. As a result, he played it all the way to the level and ranked first. But now there are still 2 days before the final deadline, so he is afraid that someone will clear it again and surpass him in time. But he never thought that this game was actually related to Zhou Yang. "Then you came here to give me a bonus?" He said cautiously. Zhou Yang laughed and said, "Bonus, right? I can give it to you, but the real purpose of my coming here this time is to meet you and give you a chance." "Opportunity? What opportunity?" He was even more confused. Zhou Yang said, "An opportunity to change your life and become a real mecha pilot, and you will become the most unique mecha pilot in the world. If nothing unexpected happens, Crossing Shine will only build one to verify the technology, deter the enemy, and eventually develop into the second generation of mecha driver." He was shocked. Zhou Yang stood up and said, "This is a huge opportunity for you. You can serve the country, bring honor to your family, and bring you a rich life. But I still hope you can think clearly, because once you become a mecha pilot, you will be a soldier, and will have to go through the most brutal training. If a war breaks out, you will also be the first to rush to the front line. So I give you 2 days to think it over. After you think it over, contact me." Zhou Yang took out a business card from his arms and handed it over. There was only a string of numbers on it. He took it blankly and didn't come back to his senses until Zhou Yang walked out of the room. Zhou Yang walked out of the door, smiled and nodded to the people outside, and said, "Excuse me." Then he left. In an instant, the group disappeared without a trace. Only the group looked at each other in bewilderment and finally rushed into Heezin's room. "What is this?" Tang Lily was sharp-eyed and saw the business card in Heezin's hand at a glance. She snatched it and said ecstatically, "Mobile phone number. This must be Zhou Yang's mobile phone number. Haha, I actually got Zhou Yang's mobile phone number. Give it to me." Heezin suddenly stood up and gritted his teeth and said, "This is what Mr. Zhou gave me. Give it back to me." Tang Lila's face changed slightly and she was about to explode, but thinking that Zhou Yang might know Heezin, she snorted coldly, threw the business card back, and said, Here, who wants yours?" I thought to myself that I had remembered it anyway. The company boss squeezed Tang Lily aside and asked quickly, "Zhou, do you know Mr. Zhou? Why did he look for you?" Facing the eyes of everyone, Heezin shook his head and said, "No, nothing happened." Heezin felt that being a mecha pilot should be kept secret. Tang Lily snorted and said, "HMPH, if you don't want to talk, forget it. Who cares to know?" "Tang Lily, how can you talk to Zhou?" Unexpectedly, the company boss scolded her harshly. Tang Lila's face changed, and when she was about to refute, the company boss said sternly, "Tang Lily, don't think I don't know. Someone in the company has already reported to me that you are arrogant and domineering and often scold Zhou. Is this true? I tell you, if you dare to do this again in the future, be careful that I will let you go." Tang Lily's eyes widened, and she couldn't believe that the company boss would say such a thing to her. However, Tang Lily was not easy to deal with. She put her hands on her waist and shouted, "Mr. Hung, let me tell you, if it weren't for me, your broken company would have gone bankrupt long ago. You dare to yell at me? Believe it or not, I will quit now and let your broken company go to hell." The two quarreled and spit flew. Hizin seemed not to hear it, and Zhou Yang's words kept echoing in her mind. Serve the country, bring honor to the family, and have a rich life. Looking at the narrow room around him, looking at the colleagues who were quarreling, Hizin suddenly felt disgusted. This kind of life was not what he wanted. "I've decided." Hizin stood up and shouted, shocking everyone present. "What have you decided, Zhou?" the boss asked blankly. Tang Lily frowned and said, "You little girl, you scared me. Don't think you can act big in front of me just because you know Zhou Yang." Hizin didn't hear what the two said at all. He turned around and ran out of the room with a business card in his hand. As soon as he left the company, Hizin bumped into a man in a black suit. "Who are you?" Hizin was stunned. The man in the black suit said, "It doesn't matter who I am. Mr. Zhou asked me to wait for you here. I will arrange the next things." Downstairs, in the car, Liu Jun nodded to Zhou Yang and said, she agreed. "Okay." Zhou Yang smiled and nodded. Now that Xingshan's driver has been found, the next step is to make it with all their strength. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.